Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the World Online Racing YouTube channel for the first time in what feels like an eternity. We are back on your screens for Season 16 here in PC Tier 1, and tonight the drivers are taking on one of my personal favourite circuits to commentate over. It is Mexico. My name is Dan Field. Once again, as always, it seems like at this point, Nathan, I am being joined by yourself today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I think Mexico, it's not a track I like personally, but I think either way, the action that gets delivered here is amazing. The battling that the drivers can get up to and track around here is brilliant. So I think either way, no matter if I like the circuit or not, I think it'll still be a very enjoyable evening.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll have a little think about last time out in the United States of America. Of course, it was so long ago, I think we need to refresh everyone's memories. So let's pull that up on your screens. Otis Lawrence taking the win ahead of Jarno Opmeer in second. Third place was Duncan Hoffland, and then Dylan Warren in fourth. Fifth, our championship leader Ismail Fassi, joined by his Williams teammate of our Caraton. Good result for them there. Then Nicholas Longay in seventh, Danny Berejnay eighth, ninth was Barry Bromand, and then Shanika Clay in 10th. And let's see how that affects our championship standings heading into this one. It is, of course, still Ismail Fassi on top at the minute on 70 points, ahead of Jarno Opmeer in second on 52. So still a healthy margin for Ismail to sort of breathe, but he's got to stay on his toes because we know how quick Jarno Opmeer is. Dylan Warren, a fantastic third place so far this season for him, with Joseph Loke in fourth, and then Duncan Hoffland running it up in fifth. Sixth for Nicholas Longay, Max Wiesel seventh with that win in Silverstone. 8th is Otis Lawrence with that victory in Kota, Barry Broman 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is Tamash Gal. And Nathan, I'd love to talk more in here, but we've already got some action down on circuit, so let's pull us over now to this very cloudy Mexico City.
Yeah, it looks very overcast, so maybe we'll see some rain featuring throughout the session. I'm not sure, but it does look like it's getting. It does look like it's very dark on the circuit and the track. Obviously, it doesn't look damp, but it just looks a little bit cold, I suppose you could say. But yeah, I think we've got, obviously, same as always, a few drives out on the set of intermediates to get everything's tested out, make sure all their equipment and stuff is working. There's no point going out to waste a set of soft tyres when you've got 3 qualifying sessions to run. Obviously, there's normally 1 or 2 people as well that don't qualify, that start at the back. We'll obviously figure out who that is once they decide to retire or disqualify for themselves from the session. So if someone does get disqualified, don't be too alarmed. It's nothing too much. It's probably just because they want to start at the back. Yeah, I think either way qualified as well, indeed, and he's always really close, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, this is a very high-speed circuit. A lot of mistakes can be made around here, especially in this S's section where Philip Presnader is heading through now. So many times I've driven this circuit, I've gone ever so slightly over the curbing, and I've got an invalidation. It's so easy to do around here, but we are in the upper echelon of league racing, so I wouldn't expect too much tonight, but definitely that's going to catch out, I'd say, 1 or 2 guys so far this evening. Meanwhile, Philip Presnader is heading now in towards the stadium section, a repurposed baseball stadium to now be the Formula 1 grandstand, a fantastic part of the track to round off that lap. He'll come now through the final corner at Pelotada to begin his intermediate run. And Nathan, you'll notice when drivers take to that start-finish straight at the beginning of their lap, they're going to try and carry as much speed on the outside, but then they cut it inside when they're finishing.
Yeah, and sometimes that also causes some issues with the traction because they're going to cut back to the inside and try and turn while getting their foot stamped on the throttle. So we do see some drivers also make mistakes when finishing their laps because that final corner, especially in low grip conditions, is horrible. And even more, going to be even worse on the intermediate tyres. They also have even less grip than the slicks on the dry track. So watching Philip Presnader heading down in towards turn number 4 down that second DRS straight. Obviously down here it's a double detection, so you get the DRS down towards turn 1. You also get it down towards turn 4. You'll come through now in towards turn 6, which I've always called 2 corners, but no, according to F1 it's just 1 corner at turn 6. Then you head through in towards the, for many drivers, infamous SE section. A lot different to what it is in real life. A lot different. Here obviously you can take it flat. The real F1 drivers have to completely lift through some of these S's corners. You can see Flip there, it pretty much going flat all the way through on the intermediate tyres. Heading down now in towards turn number 12. Just want to brake just before that 50-metre ball. Throw the car into the right-hand side. Then you're heading towards the stadium section where all the fans can watch the cars come through these very slow parts of the circuit. Just follow the car through, get nice on the throttle as you come through in towards the Pelotada, and then we'll see if Philip decides to finish his lap or decides to go back to the pits. No, we will finish it. So we'll see what the first time will be on the board. 1 minute 19.735 from Philip Presnader. Obviously, nothing representable. The pole position time probably about 6 or 7 seconds quicker, I believe, than that. So yeah, we'll just see what the lap times can do. And you can see Luke Smith and they're going 3 tenths quicker than his teammate, with Alvaro Carreton sitting just behind.
And here comes Otis Lawrence, a winner of the last Grand Prix, not pushing at the minute on the intermediates as to be expected. I mean, normally the first 8 minutes or so of qualifying is a bit dull, so do apologise, but soon in 4 minutes time, drivers should start coming out on a set of the soft compound of tyre and really start pushing on their runs. And one thing you might have noticed so far in this session, we've got Alvaro Carreton in the Williams, but no Ismail Fassi, the championship leader, is absent today. And Nathan, Jarno Opmeer at the minute is hunting now his 3rd WOR title. I think if he is able to get a good result here this evening, he could definitely be ahead of Ismail when it comes to the championship standings, and potentially could be on his way to a 3rd title here.
Yeah, if Opmeer finishes in second tonight without the fastest lap, he'll probably drawn on points on 70 with Ismail Fassi. If he wins, of course, or gets the fastest lap, and second, he will take that lead. And well, it's no surprise to see Jarno at the top. You know, he hasn't had a win this season. He's had 2 third places and a second. So I'm sure he'd love to make it a win here tonight in Mexico. But he's also got some very fast riders who'll be hunting him down throughout the whole race. Nicholas Longe, who's normally one we'd be saying will be hunting him down, he's starting at the back. So he's going to have to wait a little bit longer before he can try and have a fight with Jarno Opmeer, surely, in this race. So I think Jarno will definitely be one of those contenders for the top 5 in qualifying here tonight. So yes, he just needs to try and keep himself out of trouble, get a good result, and hopefully for him he can be ahead of Ismail Fassi, or just behind. But obviously Tamas Gale's filling in for him. Tamas, we know, is a very quick driver, obviously part of the Alpine development team, very quick driver, obviously going to be one of those looking in a year or two to possibly be in a Pro Series seat. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do in this Tier 1 grid tonight as well. I think he's also took a couple of poles this season, Tamas has.
Yeah, he's been incredibly he's been a very strong driver so far this season. I think it's Saudi Arabia that you're thinking about, where he took pole position, fitting in for one of the Haas drivers. Of course, the race didn't turn out all his way. Maybe it could be better for Tamas this evening, as Daniel Shelton is the last driver to come now into the pit lane. We have 12 minutes and 15 seconds left to go in Q1 here. Hopefully we're going to start to see some more soft running out on circuit. I think a good indicator is when you click on the detail and see who is on a set of the softs. Everyone from Otis Lawrence downwards is on a set of the softs, and then now everyone else is flicking over, so we shouldn't be too far away from seeing some slick runs.
Yeah, indeed, in the chat there, it says that they think Nico and Thomas starting at the back. Obviously, we know Nico is, but Thomas hasn't been out yet. So if he starts at the back, it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Thomas Ronhar, obviously, back in esports at Bahrain, I think it was November or December, he took the victory by about 5.5 seconds to Jarno Opmeer. So on this game, he's very quick, like he was on last game as well. So maybe from the back, we could still see a decent performance. We saw Ismail Fassi in round 1 at Bahrain. Went from 15th to 1st. I'm sure Ron Haar can try and get himself from 20th to 1st, but we'll see. We'll see what he can do. We'll see. It's going to be a long race ahead. I think there's 36 laps around this circuit, if I'm correct. So it's a very long race and a lot of laps around this Mexico City circuit. But hopefully, Dan, within the next minute's time, we'll see if you drivers head out on the soft, so we can start to see some proper lap times being set.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Mexico is a pretty short circuit, very quick times around here. Aside from that, incredibly long main straight. I think it's one of the longest on the Formula 1 calendar. It's a very high-speed track. That means ERS is going to be a bit of an issue so far, at some points in this evening. Although turn number 1, 2, and 3, you can charge up the battery a little bit through there, especially in sector 3, actually. So maybe it's not too bad as it seems. But we're just waiting now to Ghost Town out on circuit. Thomas Ronhard now to be confirmed to be starting at the back. It does put a bit of a dampener on the excitement to Q1. I mean, Q1 normally isn't the most exciting session, but now we only know of 3 drivers that are going to be eliminated. We know that Nicholas Longe and Thomas Ronhar are both knocked out. I wouldn't be surprised if Istvan Pukki as well decides to retire at some point, because we know that the Ferrari drivers, they love to start from the back, and it's worked out on a few occasions. Of course, a double top 10 for both Nicholas Longe and Barry Bromand last week. So we'll just have to wait and see, as now there's some activity down at Aston Martin. Who is that? That is either Fabrizio Donoso or it is Duncan Hoffland, and it is the latter. Duncan Hoffland, to me, Nathan, has been incredibly impressive so far this season. He's sitting 5th in the standings, and I think definitely today could be a good one for him.
Yeah, I think he's one of those drivers as well, isn't he? Like, you like Tamara Scales, give it some time, he'll definitely have his seat in, in F1 Esports. I think, the development he's made over the past couple of years is, mega. He's a very quick driver. Now you can, you can put him into that bracket of being one of the quickest drivers on the F1 game, which maybe a year ago or 2 years ago wasn't really much close to that. Obviously, he's sitting fifth in the standings at the moment on 36 points, drawing with Joseph Loke, who hasn't had the best 2 rounds in the 2 Americas. He scored, well, he wasn't there in, I think it was Las Vegas, and then in Texas, he scored no points. So he's also in a bit of a bad spot. He's not here either tonight. So 3 races without points for Joseph Loke. But yeah, Duncan Hoffman, I think, could definitely be on target for trying to get P3 or P4 in this championship. I think if he keeps up the way he's going so far, he's scored unfortunately 1 point in Bahrain, but then got 6th place in Britain. He got 4th in the first America race, and obviously last time out he got 3rd. So well, if he carries on the way he's going, he should be looking for a 2nd or 1st today.
Yeah, and it is early doors so far in this championship, so we'll wait and see if Duncan Hoffman is able to keep this level of consistency and try and take the fight to the likes of Ismail Fassi and Jarno Opmeer later on in the season. We have majority of the drivers now out on circuit. Jarno Opmeer is the last man to come out on track, so we've got now 18 runners in this session. And of course, Nicholas Songate and Thomas Ronhaus starting from the back. Who's going to be taking pole position this evening? We'll find out once we get to Q3, but we've got to weed out some of the slower drivers in this session. We'll have to wait and see as Duncan Hoffman now heads through the final few corners in through the stadium sector. Very technical through there, but could make for some brilliant racing if drivers decide to go side by side, as here he now begins his lap heading down in towards turn number 1.
Yep, we can watch him now. Gonna have the DRS open now, and he'll fly all the way down towards that first corner. Normally the wings around here are quite high compared to other circuits, so you don't always hit the 340 kilometers you would around the likes of Monza, even though this is a really long straight in towards that first braking zone. Just hit on the brakes as you head down in towards turns 1 and 2. We have the first 5 place grid penalty by Alvaro Carlson, but back on board with Duncan, heading through out of turn 3 now, down towards turn 4 with that second dose of DRS that you get from that double detection zone down at the final couple of corners before you hit that braking zone in towards turn 4. Just before the 50-meter, we'll throw the car in, keep it to the inside, try and use those apexes as you can, don't turn too much, get back on the throttle as you can in towards turn number 6. Throw the car in, keep it nice on the throttle on the exit, get stamped back on the throttle through the gears as you head through in towards the S's section. Through here, you want to try and take it as fast as you can down to gear 5, then just keep your foot on the throttle all the way through. You might need to do a little bit of a lift if you need to correct the car through the corner, but you can see Duncan taking it completely flat through this whole section, using all those curbs to his advantage. Down now in towards turn 12, yet again another bit of DRS in towards this next braking zone. Down towards the 50-meter, we'll use that curb on the inside to throw the car into the corner. Then you prepare yourself for the stadium section. Yet again, use all the curves you can. They can really help the car throw it through the corners. Then you come through the peril tile, going a little bit deep, I think, there than what Duncan Hoffman would have liked, but it'll be decent that time. Nevertheless, to the line, he goes into the board with a 1 minute 15.368. A brilliant banker.
Yeah, decent start from Duncan Hoffman. Few more cars coming through the final sector now, but I am watching the winner of last week's race. Otis Lawrence now head through the second sector split. He is purple in sector 2, now approaching this stadium section. Kai Pearson has managed to nestle himself into P3 as a VRM teammate of Reese Linton has gone on to provisional top spot at the minute. But here comes now Otis Lawrence off the exit of the final corner. What's it going to be for the young Welshman? It's a 1 minute 15.005, ever so close to that 1 minute 14, but not quite there just yet. Now heading in towards the rest of the drivers further back down in the order. I want to watch Jarno Opmeer, of course, the defending champion of this season. Jack West has found himself in a nice spot in P3. Luke Smith goes up on to the second, well, into second position at the moment, as Isfan Pookie, I believe, is invalidated on his run. Let's have a look then at Philip Presnader through the final corners. It is going to be P5 for him. Decent stuff from Philip. Unfortunately, Daniel Shelson has invalidated, which leaves both of the Mercedes drivers. Jarno Opmeer is invalidated. Here comes Jake Benham up towards the line, and it's only a disappointing P9 from him. It's a shaky start for both Mercedes drivers in Q1. However, Otis Lawrence, a great start for him at the minute, and he's a clear by almost, I think, yeah, actually over about almost 0.2 of a second. Wow, clear of Otis Lawrence there.
Yeah, I was watching Jarno Opmeer, and he went a little bit too deep at turn 12 and invalidated the lap, so that was his lap done. And I think it was quite a decent lap anyway. I think it was top 5, top 6 laps. So that's a big shame for Jarno Opmeer now, having to have a bit more pressure going in towards the second part and the final part of the Q1 session. But also in the drop zone, we've got Isam Pookie, Tamas Gal, who also invalidated on his lap, and obviously Nicholas and Thomas, who will be starting from the back. Yeah, definitely not the best time from Alvaro. I think he must have made a mistake on his lap time as well, because he's just gone deep at turn 12 and he's still on that 1 minute 90. So he's also in a spot of bother along with Shanaka Clay, who didn't get a lap time. He's in that drop zone. He's just heading, well, close to that drop zone. He's heading back in towards the pit lane. But Jake Benham's lap, I think it's a decent lap for a banker, but he's definitely going to find time because he's 4/10 back of Otis Science, which is just a blistering time. And 2/10 clear of Luke Smith, who's also great to see back up in the top 2. Yeah, I think all the drivers probably have to go out again, probably 3rd down, I think, to get some better laps, because I think the track evolution will be quite high coming towards the end of Q1.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, a little bit less pressure in this session, judging by the fact that Nicholas Longe and Thomas Ronhard both already retiring from the session and eliminating themselves. But we now have 3 champions of WOR PC in that bottom tier. We've got, of course, the Season 12 champion, Nicholas Longe, retired. Jano Otmir, Season 13 and 15 champion. And your Season 14 champion, Thomas Ronhard, in that drop zone. The only champion is Jake Benham, who has managed to find his way out of that bottom 5, but with a 1 minute 15.414, wouldn't say he's too safe with that time at the minute. We have just got 4 minutes left to go in this session, and in the span of 5 minutes or so, we've got 18 cars out on circuit, and then 2 minutes later they're all back into the pit lane. It just shows how quick these Formula 1 drivers, these Formula 1 Esports drivers, sim racing drivers, I don't really know what to call them anymore, but it just shows the level that they are at. So efficient getting these laps on the board, and I can't wait for the rest of the session. Reese Linton has retired. Otis Lawrence already believes he is safe. Luke Smith, interested to see that he has not decided to call it a quit there.
Yeah, we've got, I think, Shanaka Clay heading out on an 8 lap, so he'll be the first to jump out to pits to start a new lap, but Luke Smith also retiring there, so the top 3 not going to continue with the Q1 session, meaning Jack West down. Probably all will go out. Jack's on a .277, so it wouldn't be the safest time. I think he's definitely going to have to head back out just to eliminate that risk of him being out in Q1, but Shanaka's going to be the first out. Obviously, he hasn't got laps on the board. He's in P15, so 1 position down, 1 position away from the drop zone, so he definitely needs to get a good lap, and it needs to be a very good lap, I'd say. Comfortably, he wants to be around the .2s, maybe even a .1 if he wants to set to get himself through towards Q2. We've also got Fabrizio, Bencho, Baconyi, Duncan Hoffland and Will Lewis all heading back now on towards the circuit to begin their final laps of Q1. Tamashkal as well on his first run, I think it was a 15.3 he did get. Obviously, he had it invalidated, so it didn't classify him. So if he can get the 15.3, it would put him around that P6, P7, but definitely yet again needs to find more time. But we know with the Mexico City circuit, the track elevation is quite high, so I think we'll definitely see some big improvements in this final few runs, Dan.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, Shanaka Clay, the first man out on circuit, he's got a nice bit of breathing room behind him, completely free air in front, so there should be no impedations on Shanaka's lap. And this is a driver that I think has been very consistent in qualifying. You always see him in and around that top 10 area, fighting for pole position week in, week out. They see him all the way down in 15th, struggling to get a lap on the board. It's not the best signs for Shanaka in this session. Of course, plenty of drivers have to get laps on the board. Daniel Shelson and Alvaro Carreton, those lap times are representative of their true pace. Shanaka, Istvan and Jano and Tamash all have to get runs on the board, so I'd say no one is actually safe at the moment. Jack West, we did see he retired in the pit lane. Very interesting to see, judging by how many drivers are actually quite close behind him, so it's a big risk for the Welshman, but we'll see how it pays out as Shanaka Clay begins his run, heading down in towards turn number 1, opening up that DRS to get that extra top speed, heading down in towards this braking zone. Have a look at the telemetry. It's going to be 224.5 kilometers per hour at the braking zone now, hooking it up to the inside for the first part of the S's section. Run it out wide to scrub off minimal speed possible, and then head down the Transera straight in towards this next left-hander, where we're going to see lots of lurch and dive bombs up the inside come race time. Now in towards this very tricky first part of the second sector towards Horkila corner, where I personally believe the grandstands are at their very best, as now Shanaka Clay, a little bit of a slide heading out of that corner, but into the S's. He can recover it if he nails absolutely every corner. We'll ride on board with that Red Bull drivers. Just see the downforce that these modern day Formula 1 cars produce in those high speed corners. Approaching now the second sector split to 56.258 purple on the telemetry there. I'm not too sure if that is correct. Now in towards the final couple of corners. Now it's looked a bit of a scrappy lap for Shanaka Clay, but heading now through the Peraltada corner, keep it to the inside to take that shortest run possible to come across the line of 15.262. Shanaka made a few mistakes on that lap, and he has managed to get himself ahead of Jack West, so maybe some worrying signs there for the Haas driver. Here comes Duncan Hoffland off the exit of the final corner now. Where is he going to go? It's only P9. A bad lap from him there. Will Lewis has found himself jumping up in towards 4th position. Let's have a look at Jake Benham at the minute. He's trailing behind his teammate of Jarno Opmeer. Fabrizio Donoso, a fantastic effort to get himself into P2. Alvaro Carreton as well. One of the Alfa Romeos is coming up to the line. That's Chanakinchi coming in to the pit lane as now more drivers head through the final few corners. We are watching the defending champion in the drop zone at the minute. Will we see Jan Ortmeier get eliminated from qualifying, or is he going to live to fight another day? Daniel Shelson, disappointing run from him, and he is knocked out. Jan Ortmeier only P14. Jake Benham has found himself getting up into the top 6, and Istvan Pukki does all he can to eliminate Jan Ortmeier, misses out on Q2 by just 3 thousandths of a second, and the season 15 champion Jan Ortmeier looking very, very shaky here.
Oh, that was close, wasn't it? 12 down to P16, obviously Chan down to Istvan Pukki, just half a tenth separating those guys, so very close. Coming towards the end of Q1 for a second, I thought Jano was going to be 80. He went P14, it wasn't the best lap with the 15.3. But still, just by 3 thousandths of a second, he makes it through in towards Q2. Now, going into Q3, he's going to hope that was a big mistake, otherwise he's going to be under even more pressure. Obviously, being 11th down, being eliminated, he's got to find some time in the next part of qualifying. But also nice to see lots of Fabrizio Donoso putting himself up into the top 2 at the end of Q1. I think the qualifying, even after Q1, it looks quite mixed to what we normally see, doesn't it, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is really an all-over-the-place grid at the moment. We see some of the quickest drivers in qualifying. Istvan Pukki and Tamás Gal, the 2 Hungarians, in the drop zone at the minute. Jan Ortmeier, of course, historically isn't all that good in qualifying, but we're at least used to seeing him fighting for pole position. So very mixed bag at the minute. I think this is maybe just dusting off some of the, a lot of these guys are actually going to be dusting off their rigs after the Christmas break. They've not really had all that much practice in terms of external tournaments other than World Online Racing, but it is Otis Lawrence at the top of Q1, Fabrizio Donoso second, third is Carreton. Those are 3 drivers we're very used to seeing at the top of the order. Philip Presnader fourth, 5th is Luke Smith. Good day for the Alpine drivers. Reese Linton, a very impressive P6 for him, and then Jake Benham did well to get himself up into 7th, and it's the 2 Red Bulls of Will Lewis and Shanika Clay, and Kai Pearson rounds out the top 10. Just about surviving in this session is Jack West, Chanakinchi, Ben Shabakonyi, Duncan Hoffland, and Jarno Opmeer, and then biting the dust is Istvan Pukki, Daniel Shelson, Nicholas Longe, Tamás Gal, and Thomas Ronhar, bringing us to the end of Q1, everyone. We've seen 5 drivers get eliminated, 2 of them, of course, being Nicholas Longe and Thomas Ronhar retiring from the session to start at the back. But I gotta say, Istvan Pukki not making it into Q2, very sad for him.
Indeed, because you've got lots of Istvan, Tamás, Nico and Thomas are all very quick qualifiers and normally ones that can fight for pole position. So as much as it's a shame for some of those, obviously who didn't opt to be out of Q1, it gives some advantages to all the drivers who we don't normally see fight for pole. They've got that high chance because some of those drivers who normally would be fighting for it aren't. So we could definitely see a bit of a surprise pole position driver coming through in towards this race. And it also helps Jan Ortmeier in a way. We know obviously he's not always the strongest in qualifying. He's always in the top 10, but he's never really one of those that fights for pole every single week. So that also gives him another advantage going into this week. If he can get himself maybe top 3, top 4 in quali, it helps him in the race because we know Jarno's probably, along with Thomas Ronhar, one of the quickest, if not the quickest, when it comes to the race pace and also the race IQ that he has. So yeah, Jarno, if he can get this qualifying sorted in Q2 and Q3, I think he's definitely on course for possibly I think he can get a victory, I think, with the way, with where some people are starting.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see. Meanwhile, we will head over trackside to Q2 to watch Otis Lawrence out on circuit. Incredible time from him there. He topped Q1 with just that one initial run that he had. Fabrizio Donoso, Alvaro Carreton, both of them got very, very close, but that was much later on in the session where, of course, track evolution is a lot better than those earlier runs in qualifying. So Otis Lawrence, with that time, he's got to have bags of confidence that he can go 2 for 2 in the last 2 races.
Yeah, definitely. I think Otis, it was obviously his debut round back in Texas, and well, he's always been quick at Texas. Obviously, the one season, I think it was last time, he lost the victory due to get the penalty for cutting the track on the pit entry line. But yeah, this time he didn't do that, so he did get himself the victory. But yeah, I think you know, as much as Texas is just a really good track for Otis, he's just quick everywhere. You know, he's one of those that came from Xbox, a little bit like Ron Hart, and just lit the timing boards up on PC. And I think Otis, you know, if he wasn't 15, I think he would have easily already had a seat in esports, because he's, you know, easily one of the top 5, top 10 on the game at the moment. So it is a bit of a shame having that age bracket there for him not being able to compete, but also it gives him a bit more time to prepare. And then when he gets into it, he can show people even more what he can be capable of.
Yeah, I definitely think that the age limit is a good idea for F1 Esports, because not too long ago, last season in fact, Otis Lawrence did come under quite a bit of fire for some of the racing standards that he had produced, and I think that was to do with his age, but he has matured so much since then and evolved into not just a fast driver but an incredible racer. So really excited to see what the future holds for this young Veloce Academy driver. He is now heading in towards turn number 4 at the end of the Transira straight on this run. Probably, I'd say most of these laps are on a scrub set of the tyres. That's typically what we see at the beginning of Q2. Just to get a delta on the board, provides you a bit of a psychological advantage, knowing that you're improving on your previous best lap. It's going to give you that bit of confidence to maybe go a little bit more aggressive and find some more time. Let's have a look at Reese Linton as he heads through the final few corners now, see what time he is able to produce. Very happily surprised with how his qualifying run ended out. Of course, his teammate Daniel Shelson has been eliminated from qualifying, so he's the lone AlphaTauri out on circuit. Comes across the line, so 15.3.
Yeah, decent there, as you can see. Well, his Vroom teammate, Kai Pearson, goes into third as Duncan Hoffland goes fastest with a 15.325. Otis Lawrence pops himself just behind Reese with a .365. Luke Smith back up to the top here in Q2. Benjamin McConaughey, followed by Alvaro Caraton, who now goes up to the top, and Shanaka Clay goes even quicker. The times are getting further and further then as we come through. Chanakinchi popping himself into P7. We've got Philip Presneder into the top 40 behind his teammate. Then we've got, I think, Yoromir coming through as well. He's heading down towards turn 4. Jake Benham just into the top 10. That's not too safe for him in the Mercedes. Donoso just coming through out of the final corner. We'll see what he can do. His teammate in P5. He goes back into the pits along with Jack West as well, who don't think he must have wanted back into pits because he did go out on circuit. So yeah, there's bottom 5 at the moment after the first runs. You've got Kai Pearson, Jack West, Yana Watmere, I believe he's not on a lap because he's got 0 battery, Fabrizio Donoso and Will Lewis. So Yano yet again in another spot of bother.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it is very early doors in Q2, and most of the time these are much slower times. I mean, Shanaka Clay's lap would have been actually good enough to get himself, I think, into 4th position in the last session. But yeah, we're going to see much quicker times come the end of this session. Plenty of guys on a 1:15.3 at the minute. So just waiting for everyone now to come back into the pits, and then surely we should be able to continue the excitement here in Mexico. We've got 800 people watching at the moment, and we pride ourselves on being World Online Racing. Please do let me know, as I try to do every single stream, let me know where you are watching from, because Nathan, we have people all over the world watching, and it's just wonderful to see every single time we stream where people are tuning in from. And it could be time zones 6 hours ahead, 12 hours behind, whatever it is fantastic to see how many people are here. So I want to read out some of your responses, and the first one I see is Egypt. We've got Hong Kong, Brazil. That is 3 different continents already. Make it 4 with Georgia. We've got Norway as well. Not many English in the chat at the minute. Of course, myself and Nathan both heralding from England. We've got Netherlands, Scotland, Bulgaria, Sweden, Winland, I believe is Finland, Lesotho, I think that's in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken. Then Canada, Pakistan, Serbia. Wow, incredible stuff. We've got someone from Princeton, the United Arab Emirates, Denmark, Scotland forever, someone says, Finland, Canada, Kuwait, Wakanda, okay, Ireland, Sri Lanka. Fantastic, Nathan.
Yeah, I think... Oh, we've got some from Staffordshire that's quite close to me, actually. Yeah, we've got people from everywhere. Which is, so we've also got some people from Mars, so it seems we've got people out of this world watching World Online Racing, which is very nice to see. If you're from Mars and you're watching, hello, welcome in. But yeah, I think it's always nice to see where everyone is round, from around the world, and everyone always coming together for some brilliant action here at the WR League. And well, Q2's getting even further underway now. We've got 8 minutes left to go. We've got everyone on a lap apart from Philip Preschnader. And then we'll see what the second runs in Q2 can produce. Lots of Jack, Jarno, Fabrizio will need to get lots on the board to get themselves at least through, or close to getting through, in towards Q3. And lots of Jay, Kai, Bench, Chan need some very big improvements going through. But obviously, a lot of those was on the used tyres, so they'll easily find 3, 4, 5 tenths of an improvement on their laps on the brand new tyres.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone once again for your contributions in the live chat. It really does touch my heart that so many of you tune in to watch World Online Racing every single week. I'm so glad to be back here on a Sunday evening, and I can't wait for this championship to continue. Reese Linton is coming to the end of his outlap. He's got Duncan Hoffland following in behind, and then one of the Haas cars, that is Bench Jabo Konya. I'm trying to see who do you want to watch on a run. I see there's a McLaren. Is that Otis Lawrence? No, that's Kai Pearson. Who should we check out here? Will Lewis, the icon himself, the man of the moment, Will Lewis out on circuit, heading now down off the exit of the final corner. If he used all of his power, he'd be the quickest man in the world, but he's just making sure everyone else has a bit of fun. He heads down in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, well, a bit of a fact about Will Lewis was he took podium here back in season 13. That was when it was Alfie ahead of Thomas, ahead of Will Lewis. So he's been on the podium here once before, so maybe we'll see it once again here in season 16. We can see now just heading through in towards turns 2 and 3 in that Red Bull, back on the pole on the exit, gets that DRS down towards turn number 4. A few cars ahead, hopefully, if they're not on the laps, they will move out the way, but I think everyone now is pretty much starting there. Hot laps always even on their hot laps now, heading through the first and second sector. 28.8 or something on Will Lewis's screen there for that first sector. Goes purple on my screen as he heads through in towards turn number 6, back on the power through now in towards the S's section, turn 7 through towards turns 11. You just want to throw the car in, try not to trust that grass, which Will did. That's going to scrub off a little bit of speed coming through in towards the S's section. You want to use all the curbs, keep it to the inside, try not to run wide. Now you get some DRS down towards turn number 12. You're going to brake just before that 50-meter. We'll throw the car in completely down to 4th gear for Will. Gets back on the power. Reese Linton goes quickest there with a 15.012. But we're going to keep on board with the Red Bulls as they come through the final few corners. You can see they're very close to running wide on that lap there. You come through the final corner at the peril tire through towards the line. Kai Pearson goes 3rd. What will it be for Will Lewis? Up to 2nd with a .131.
Very close to getting onto the provisional top spot at the minute. Alvaro Caraton is able to trump Will Lewis, who got one of the Mercedes. That's Jarno Opmeer heading through the final corner. Disappointing P7 for him. What about his teammate Jake Benham, up by 0.2 of a second? There's the first 1 minute 14 of the session. It is Luke Smith getting himself up into P1. Otis Lawrence gets very close, but is unfortunately just behind him there. Shanika Clay has also found his way in to the 1 minute 14s as Jarno Opmeer has been put into the drop zone by Jake Benham. And then I believe Jack West has also gone quicker, and that brings us to the end of the first initial runs. In the drop zone at the minute, it's Jarno Opmeer, Chana Kinchi, Ben Shabakoni, Philip Preschnader, and Duncan Hoffland. I believe the latter pair, neither of them were able to get a second run on the board, but it is Luke Smith. We know how quick he is in qualifying, setting a 1 minute 14.857. We saw he was able to get close to Otis Lawrence in the last session. It's flipped over in Q2. Luke Smith is the one leading.
Yeah, and with Jarno being dead in 11th, maybe that wasn't a mistake on his first run. Maybe in the Q1, maybe it's just not got that ultimate pace in qualifying to put himself a challenge for Q3. He's on a 15.2, so it's not a bad lap. It's just 3.5 tenths off. Oh, it's a bit close there. I think that was one of the Aston Martins coming through, really hitting Jarno Opmeer as he heads in towards the pit lane. But yeah, obviously being 3.5 tenths off the top of Luke Smith, he needs to find some key improvements in this next part of the session. And with Will Lewis being a tenth quicker than Jarno, only being P7, Jarno's surely got to be at least into the 14s. So he's going to find 2 or 3, well, at least 3 or 4 tenths, I think, on his lap to get himself safely through to Q3. So this could be another champion here, 18 qualifying. Obviously in Q1 it was Nico and Thomas. Now could be Jarno Opmeer, possibly being knocked out here in Q2 unless he can perform a really good lap, go to put himself into that top 10. So yeah, we could see again another surprise exit here done in Q2.
Yeah, and there's a chance that we see both Mercedes out of this session. Jake Benham only P9 for him, but there is some hope, because marginal improvements is all that you need here in WOR PC Tier 1. Look at the gaps between Alvaro Caraton and Jack West. Just 1,000th of a second is separating 5th and 6th. How about the gap between Will Lewis and Fabrizio Donoso? Also 1,000th of a second. Incredibly fine margins here in Mexico, and so you just need the slightest improvement. That is just, you know, shifting down ever so slightly earlier before to carry more speed into the corner, or whatever it is that you need to find to get yourself ahead in position. And that is what matters. It doesn't matter how close you are, it matters that you are inside that top 10. With 3.5 minutes to go, Luke Smith leading the way in qualifying, Otis Lawrence in second, Shanika Clay in third. Jarno Opme, your defending champion, your two-time PC champion, he is in that drop zone at the minute. It would be a big loss to see Jarno Opme out of this session. I won't be too worried, given how we know how quick Jarno Opme is around a race circuit. Luke Smith retires in the pit lane. He believes that he is safe, as now finally we're seeing drivers out on track. The first man to hit the road is Duncan Hoffland, sitting plumb last at the minute in 15th.
Indeed, and it's brilliant to see Luke Smith up the top here in Q2. He's looked very strong throughout the whole of qualifying, so we could see even him be one of those fighting for pole here in Q3 if he gets himself through. Obviously, he's only been here one race this season. It was back in Las Vegas, where unfortunately he did after, I believe it was an incident with Nicholas Longa, and then his race completely fumbled down and he ended up scoring no points and DNFing in that race. So he's someone who will be looking to get himself some decent points. Yet again, Luke Smith, he's not always one that's always at the top. He's always around that midfield, top of the midfield on some occasions. I think for him, if he can bring that strong qualifying pace in towards Q3, he could be on for a really good result. But we can see everyone now second down, apart from Jake and Shanak at the moment, all right, on 8 laps, meaning Q3 could be quite, well, the Q2 elimination could be quite surprising, meaning everyone thinks they're not going to be safe to get through.
Absolutely, as now everyone is beginning to come out onto the circuit, and it is going to be 14 runners that we see on track. Luke Smith very confident with his 1 minute 14.8, and I think he can be safe with that. I mean, there's not going to be 10 drivers that are going to be quicker than him, so he should be safe in this session. But, you know, there's no guarantees here in... Oh my god, swallowed whatever it is, and now I'm just coughing all over the place. Let's have a look at Duncan Hoffland getting his final run underway. He's being tailed by Will Lewis at the minute, of course, who we watched for his first run in qualifying. We will go towards the Aston Martin driver of Duncan Hoffland, because he has been so strong so far this season, sitting 5th in the standings. It would also be a big loss to see him out of qualifying here in Q2. But heading down in towards turn number 1, we saw Shanika Clay did about 225 kilometers per hour at the braking zone. Let's see what it is for Duncan Hoffland. It's going to be 324 is the peak for the Dutch driver. Now heading in towards this first short S's section. That's not a good sign. Already an invalidation for Duncan Hoffland. He's going to have to push once again to get around the circuit, and I don't know if it's going to be enough for him to set a good lap and get himself out of this qualifying session. I think Duncan Hoffland might have bitten the dust very early here in Q2. A disappointing way to go out for him.
Oh, it is indeed. Will Lewis on a lap as well. He's coming through. He went up by a 10th in that first set, so he's on a decent improvement so far. Everyone as well on improvements. A lot of people nearly a 10th up in that first set, so it was great to see these improvements coming through. It means it's even going to be more pressurised of who's going to go out in the Q2 session. Jarno's just coming through the final few corners with his teammate to begin their final lap, so they'll be the last two to cross the line for Q2. On the sunboard, we will know as he heads down in towards turn number 12. He's up by 1.5 tenths of a second. This is a brilliant lap time so far from Will Lewis as he heads through towards the last part of the stadium section. Just throws the car in, just want to use as much curb as you can, get on the power as early as you can without losing the rear as you come through the peril tarder up towards line. Will it be for Will Lewis? Will it be safe to going through even more? It will. P2 there, only 3 thousandths back of Luke Smith's time.
So close for Will Lewis, but it's not going to be enough to get himself ahead of Luke Smith. Reese Linton comes across the line. It's a decent effort from him to jump up just ahead of Shanika Clay. Let's have a look at Otis Lawrence as he runs on this lap at the minute, already improving by almost 2 tenths of a second. It's a fantastic run so far in qualifying from him. Fabrizio Donoso has found himself into P4. Chanakinchi, a very sketchy P7 for him. A few more drivers improve behind him. He could be out of this session. We're having a look at Otis Lawrence heading now through the final corner at Peraltada. He's improving at a rate of knots as he comes across the line. Is it going to be P1? Indeed it will be. He gets himself ahead of Luke Smith. A fantastic effort from him there. Let's have a look at the Dutchman, Jarno Opmeer. I can't find him. There we go. Jarno Opmeer is improving, but it is only marginal. It's 1/10 of a second. Is this going to be enough to get himself out of qualifying? His teammate Jake Benham also joining him in the drop zone at the minute. Both Hasses are out of qualifying. Jake Benham has been eliminated. Jarno Opmeer, the last man to cross the line. Can he get himself into Q3? He'll jump ahead of Jake Benham, but both Mercedes, both champions here in WOR, are eliminated. Jack West, Ben Chabraconyi and Duncan Hoffland will be joining them as well, but it is Otis Lawrence quickest in Q2 ahead of Shanika Clay. Luke Smith with that initial lap is good enough for P3. Will Lewis in 4th, 5th Alvaro Caraton.
Yeah, well, a double Mercedes knockout in Q2 is not something you see too often at all. Big shame for Jarno and Jake, and well, going into this race, Jarno could have got, he needs to get second to try and take the lead away from Ismail Fassi. Being in 13th, that's going to make it a lot harder than it would have been if he was up in that top 10. So Jarno now being in 13th, he's got a lot of work to do, but it just put him under a little bit of pressure. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what he can do, but that is definitely a big surprise for Jarno, and hopefully, though, his race pace can, kind of get rid of some of that. Some of that loss of pace in qualifying. Yeah,
to be fair to Jarno Opmeer, I saw someone said in the chat that Jarno actually does have a new rig, so that could potentially be signs of why he is ever so slightly slower. Also, someone has said that he's on lower wings, so that is more geared towards sort of a race setup. So maybe Jarno Opmeer, he's going to come alive in the Grand Prix. Do not write out the Dutchman, but Otis Lawrence is a man you cannot take your eyes off for just 1 second. He'll top Q2 as he did at Q1. Shanika Clay in 2nd, 3rd. Luke Smith 4th. Will Lewis 5th is Caraton 6th for Richard Onoso, then Reese Linton 7th, 8th Kai Pearson, Philip Presnader in 9th and 10th Channa Kinchi, with Jack West, Ben Chabraconyi, Jarno Opmeer, Jake Benham and Duncan Hoffland all being eliminated from Q2. Some big names already out of qualifying. We've got all 4 of our champions not making an appearance in Q3, and it should be a very, very interesting run here.
Well, there's a lot of people who we don't normally see in Q3 now, so I think the pole position could be quite a surprise. And looking at the top 10 we got here in qualifying in Q3, I think it could be any of them taking that pole position. So I think we'll see a really close affair here in Q3. Obviously, in Q2 it was quite far. The grid was quite spread out. It was, I think, nearly 4 tenths between the top 14. Obviously, Duncan Hoffman made a mistake on his final lap. So yeah, that's quite a big gap in qualifying. So, well, we'll see what can happen, but the mid-pack was still quite close. It was just those kind of at the front of the field, just nearly a tenth ahead of each other as you got down towards P3 and P4. So we'll see what can happen. Anything can happen. I don't really... Normally I'd have a guess of who I think could take pole, but there's 10 drivers who can all do it, so I really don't have a clue.
Yeah, I mean, I think now is a good time to pose that question to everyone watching in the live chat. I will bring us over to the race scene now, and you can see all 10 drivers on the who have a chance at taking pole position. I want to know everyone's prediction in the live chat as to who they think is taking pole. And of course, I know a lot of people like to say Jarno Opmeer. He's not in Q3. Please do not say Jarno Opmeer is going to be taking pole position. There's plenty of good names to pick from. Nathan, you said you don't want to pick. I'm going to make you pick. Who are you going for pole?
You know what? I'll go with Luke Smith. He's looked strong.
Sets me up perfectly. I'm going to go with Otis Lawrence to take pole position. So the two seemingly front runners in qualifying thus far, and we're competing against each other, Nathan. Once again, let's have a look at some of the options in the live chat. Well oiled, says Otis, I reckon. Alex is going with Opmeer. I said. We've got another Opmeer in chat. AP is going for Otis Lawrence. Sorry, no, that's not AP. That's Shanika he's going for. Ewan Evans is going for Otis Lawrence. Jason says Danny Berejnay for pole position. Ha ha ha. Then we've got Advraith is going with Luke Smith. Defo getting P1. Luca Gaming says Jarno, thank you very much. Broken Britain, best prediction of the day, Will Lewis to take pole position. Don't know why I went with that, why I didn't go with that, but yeah, I firmly agree with you there.
Yeah, we've got a couple more Will Lewis as well in the chat. We've got Fabrizio, Luke Smith. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, quite a few drivers having that prediction for pole, which normally we see 1 or 2 names. Here we've seen at least 3 or 4. So, yeah, I think the chat also knows that it's a bit of a surprise affair going in towards Q3 of who could take that pole. But the first person on track at the moment is Reese Linton, who over in PSGL last week took podium in Spain, got P3, got demoted after a penalty. So he's also a driver who is very quick and he's always able to fight in the race very well. So I'm excited to see what he can do along with Kai Pearce. And both of them, I believe they're both Xbox champions here in WOR. I know Kai is, or at least I think he's leading the Xbox Championship. I'm not sure about Reese though. I just know that they are like, they're like the 2 Xbox boys since you lost the likes of Otis, Declan, and Thomas.
It's hard to keep up with the console league racing scene at the minute. I know a lot of the PlayStation drivers that have come over onto the platform. And there's only one of them that I see in Q3 actually tonight, and funnily enough is Will Lewis there. So I think that settles the GOAT debate of the PlayStation platform. Will Lewis or Wilson Hughes, there's only one real option there. But continuing along in this session, we are looking at Otis Lawrence. His pace has been undeniable so far in this session. We'll have to wait and see if he's able to replicate that in Q3. But I'd imagine topping Q1, topping Q3, there's no other way to go but up for him.
Yeah, I think he's definitely got a chance of it, but I can't say he will because I want Luke Smith to get pole now. I've said the prediction, so I've got to stick with Luke Smith. But I think Otis will be very close behind. He'll probably be in second, but Luke Smith will definitely be in P1 after this qualifying session. But yeah, then after that, I think Luke and Otis are probably going to be the 2 quickest guys, and then after that, then I think it's going to be really close between like you got your Kai, Reese, Phillips, Shanaka will all be really close together in qualifying, making the race yet again a very interesting affair because you'll have all those at the back. Trying to work their way through Nico, Istvan, Thomas, along with Jon Otmir and Jake Benham in that 12th, 13th back. And then you've got some of these guys at the front who you wouldn't normally see at the top of the grid, also fighting for podiums and top 5. So I think the race itself will change a lot throughout. I think we'll see lots of people moving up and down the grid, which is always a great thing to see, isn't it, in a race?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually do quite like it when drivers decide to start at the back of the grid. That means we get to see a lot more overtaking as they try and make their way towards the front. As qualifying is well and truly underway, Otis Lawrence bumping over the curbs in turn number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now getting the best round possible down the Transira straight in towards this next break. I'm all right on board with him for this next left-hander, braking just after the 100-meter board. Really using the extremities of this circuit, trying to use everything that he can to gain the fractions of seconds that make him the driver that he is. Now heading down in towards turn number 7 at the beginning of the S's section. We've just got to hold the car in and hope for the best riding over these curves, trying to maximize the speed that he can. He's really twitchy with the steering wheel there, but heading in towards sector 3 now, in towards this is turn number 12, I believe, of Delavallo. He is purple in sector 2, so it's looking very good for Otis Lawrence. We'll have a look then at Reese Linton coming across the line, set the initial lap in Q3 of 14.698, a fantastic showing from him there. Kai Pearson, a disappointing P2 for him, and Otis Lawrence a 14.722. Reese Linton is the quickest driver in qualifying thus far. Is he the dark horse that we have been waiting for, or is it going to be anyone else behind that we've talked about so far in this session? Alvaro Carreton up towards the line now. What's it going to be for him? A 15.360. Disappointing run to say the very least. What about Luke Smith heading up towards the line? Is he going to be able to go quicker than Reese Linton? Not quite this time by Reese Linton. Very surprising P1 from him, but it is a lot closer than it has been so far in qualifying. You can see less than a quarter of a tenth is separating Reese Linton and Otis Lawrence at the minute.
Yeah, that lap from Reese is absolutely brilliant to be on that 0.6. The first driver in the 0.6 is here in this session. Obviously, you can still find improvements in the next part of Q3 as the track will get a little bit better towards the end. I think he was definitely on a new set of tyres along with Otis, Luke and Shanaka. I'm not sure about those behind, but I believe they would be on used tyres at that point. So yeah, the fight for pole, Reese Linton could be in it. It'd be rude to say I didn't think he'd be in the fight for pole today. But I think, the way he's going, he's definitely got a chance to do it. So maybe it won't be Otis or Luke. Maybe they'll be second and third, and Reese is the one there to deny them, which would then put both of us out of our predictions.
Yeah, to be fair to you, you did say that Reese Linton would be fighting for the positions behind Otis and Luke, but If I'm going to be completely honest, I counted him out. I didn't think that Reece Linton was going to be fighting for pole position. I knew he's definitely good enough to get himself into Q3, but I'm very pleasantly surprised at the performance that we are seeing thus far from the AlphaTauri driver. The lone AlphaTauri in this session. Would have been a bit nerve-wracking to see Daniel Shelton get eliminated so early, but his room teammate of Kai Pearson is here. I'd imagine both of them are in a Discord call at the moment. The pair of them getting into Q3, it showed a lot of hope for the future of console and how it really isn't that big of a difference between Xbox, PlayStation and PC nowadays. Of course, when I was league racing, it felt like for the most part the league racing scene was actually most active and quickest on PlayStation. That's because I don't remember a lot of the champions really doing all that much racing in league racing, or sorry, the esports drivers doing all that much racing in league racing. If someone has been here a lot longer than I have, I started commentating WOR in season 12. I've been a part of the scene since late F1 20, well, I guess mid F1 2020. No, actually, wait. Mid F1 2019, that's when I started, Nathan. If anyone wants to correct me in the live chat, please do feel free. But it just really goes to show, Nathan, there's not that big of a gap that I think the perception is widely held as.
Yeah, I think Xbox. I mean, I think PC is always quicker because of it obviously being a better, system to run on. But I think when it comes to skill, there's hardly any difference. Obviously, we both know from over in PS3 and F2, there's a lot of drivers on there who have moved over from PC, PS. I think half the grid was on PS as of recent, and some of those are quicker than the players on PC. So that shows sometimes maybe it's the equipment holding some of these drivers back when they're playing on the console, obviously the PS and Xbox. Maybe that's the reason why they're not always as quick as the PC drivers when they're setting their times.
Yeah, absolutely, as now we are getting into what Chris Buxton calls as the Banzai phase of qualifying, because we are within 3 minutes of finding out who is going to be starting this Mexico City Grand Prix on pole position. Shanika Clay is the first man out on track. We've seen him come out pretty early so far in qualifying. I think his Q1 time, his final run in that session, he was the first driver out on circuit. He's able to find his way into Q3 now, so maybe this is sort of a good luck charm for him. Further back behind, Reece Linton, your current provisional pole sitter, and Will Lewis as well have started their outlaps. Kai Pearson is on circuit. I see Otis Lawrence as well. So really and truly, everyone is coming out onto track, and we'll see how this qualifying session unfolds. Nathan, do you want to change your prediction now, or are you going to stick with Luke Smith?
Changing my prediction would be rude to Luke. That would be heavily rude. So now I'm going to stick with Luke. I hope you stick with Otis as well.
Yeah, no, well, maybe I'll change it to Will Lewis, but I'm not gonna do that to Otis Lawrence. I've backed him so far in this qualifying session. I'm gonna continue with that, but we are watching Reece Linton on his run. I feel like it's gonna do him justice to watch what Reece Linton can do, because we didn't actually watch his qualifying run on his lap. We just sort of flicked over towards the end. So I do want to see how the AlphaTauri driver does this evening, and whether or not we are seeing the beginning of something incredible for this guy. I mean, we've seen plenty of drivers come up from the Xbox platform, like Otis Lawrence actually, like Thomas Ronhart as well, and really make a splash on the PC scene. Is Reece Linton the next driver to do that? We'll have to wait and see. Shanika Clay is getting his lap underway. Meanwhile, Reece Linton is sitting a decent ways back behind, getting ready for his run, heading in towards this stadium section. We can ride on board with him and really get a picture of what it actually looks like to drive through there. Incredible stuff. And of course, on the final lap of the race, when the leader passes on through, the confetti sprays on to the circuit. But here comes Reece Linton, now beginning his final run in qualifying. He's come out of nowhere to take provisional P1 at the minute, but is he going to improve on that time? We'll have to wait and see. Heading down in towards turn number 1 at 327 kilometers per hour for Reece Linton as he slides his way through the first couple of corners. It's looking very clean thus far in the first sector. Back on the power as early as he can and open up that DRS, heading down in towards turn number 4. What's the sector 1 time? He is improving. 28.398 for him. That is an improvement of almost half a tenth of a second, and you know how marginal these times have to be. So to find 400ths is incredible. Now in towards the very challenging second sector of this lap. We will watch right on board with Reece Linton as he hurls the car in towards this second sector, S's sector of the circuit. Incredible stuff meeting every apex with the finest margins possible, improving now by over a tenth of a second. Reese Linton is on a generational time at the moment. Shanaka Clay has just come across the line, only P3 for him. He's not been able to get himself ahead of Reese Linton or Otis Lawrence. Has Reese Linton been able to carry the speed in the third sector? The clock has struck 0 now, as here comes the AlphaTauri driver to come across the line. He lost time in sector 3, but he still finds an improvement of over half a tenth of a second. Fantastic effort from him, and he'll be happy to know Otis Lawrence is down in the first sector, but he's finding an improvement in sector 2. It's all relying now on this final part of the lap for Otis Lawrence if he wants to take pole position in this session now, as he's 800ths down on Reese Linton at the minute. Can he find that improvement in the final sector? Slides his way through the final corner now. What's it going to be for Otis Lawrence? He'll get close, but not close enough, and it seems like at the minute Reese Linton is on pole position, but don't forget about Luke Smith, who has just invalidated on his lap time there. Alvaro Carreton is going to come across the line, I believe, as the final driver there. 1 minute 14.756. Luke Smith, with the invalidation there, is going to start a measly P7. Philip Presnade has found his way onto the front row of the grid, and the two drivers that we predicted to be so strong in qualifying, they both found their way not even to the front row of the grid. Reese Linton, fantastic effort from him.
Yeah, well, Reese Linton ahead of Philip Presnade. That's not a top two I would have expected at all here in WR Tier 1. Well, there we are. Reese ahead of Philip. It's going to be a great affair heading in towards this race. Obviously, Otis, you can see sitting in P3, only 3 thousandths ahead of Fabrizio Donoso, who's done a decent job to pop himself into the top 4. Then after that, you can see the gaps really close. Otis down to Luke. He's just half a tenth of a second. That's between P3 and P7.
Wow, incredible stuff in qualifying here. Let's have a look at the gap to the leaders. You can see the top 5 separated by less than a tenth. P1 to P10, which is Chanakinchi starting in that 10th spot, is not even 3 tenths. Incredibly close margins here at the end of Q3, but it is Reese Linton that was just quicker than everyone else. He was able to get it across for 1 lap. Will he convert that in the race? We'll have to wait and see. Let's have a little rundown of your top 10 in qualifying. Reese Linton on pole with Philip Presnade in second. Third is Otis Lawrence, and then Fabrizio Donoso in fourth. Shanaka Clay fifth. Alvaro Carreton, 2 former Williams teammates, starting on the third row together. Then Luke Smith and Will Lewis. I always get these names mixed up because I combine their names to create Will Smith. So fingers crossed they don't have a little fight at any point. Then the rounding out the top 10 is Kai Pearson and Chanakinchi. Nathan, it happens, honestly. Every single stream that they're fighting, I'll say Will Smith at some point. For no reason whatsoever, I just say Will Smith. And
Have you ever said Luke Lewis?
Luke Lewis? No, I think it might just be the similarities in their name, because they've both got the L's at the beginning of one part of their name, and then Will Smith forms the actor. So I guess I just find a way to associate it with that. But yeah, apologies to the pair of them. Fingers crossed both of them, they just go their separate ways in the race. But Nathan, the big story, Reese Linton on pole position, seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah, indeed. I definitely did expect it. I didn't expect to see Philip Presnade on the front row either. We know, I think what you said earlier this season, that he's been on a little bit more form in qualifying, but he's on the front row. He's doing a brilliant job ahead, obviously. His teammate Luke Smith down in P7. Otis Lawrence, though, is in P3. I don't think it's too disheartening for him, though, because he has definitely got the chance to still try and win. And normally, pole position isn't the best place to be on to win. Normally, it's second, third, or fourth where you tend to win from, or what if you finish around fast? So you're 15th. On the grid to win, so maybe that isn't good for Reese being on that pole position. Obviously, he doesn't have that DRS advantage if he keeps the lead going on towards lap 3 and onwards. Lots of Philip and Otis behind will have it, so we'll see if that provides any disadvantage to Reese. But we've got the restart thanks to EA's brilliant game designing. We've got to wait for everyone to get back into lobby, get the grid sorted, and then we can get underway for, I believe it's 36 laps here at the Mexico City circuit, which, like I said before, I feel kind of bad saying I don't like the circuit, because I've watched the qualifying and I start to like it now.
I love it. It's so fun. I really like driving it, and I really like commentating on it. To be fair, though, whenever I play the game, I play on regular corner cutting, which is probably why I like the circuit so much. I want to play the game to have fun. I'm not competitive or anything. I'm not going to want a penalty if I'm going fractionally off the circuit. Most of the time I'm completely jumping over the curbs and stuff, and I get away with it scot-free. As oh dear, I've got an online services error trying to join Luke Smith's lobby. Fingers crossed, Nathan, That's not a proper issue or anything. Just let me know if you have the same thing. I want to pick up on one thing that you said. It says I'm joining session now, but I want to pick up on one thing that you said that was starting your pole position on this game normally isn't the best thing, and I think that is very much amplified by this Mexico circuit. Of course, the longest run down in towards that first corner. Otis Lawrence and Fabrizio Donoso, for all we know, could be leading this race heading down in towards turn 1.
There could be, especially that slipstream. We've seen multiple times in the real life Formula One. We have the cars go 2 or 3, well, normally 3, in some cases 4 wide in towards that first corner on the opening lap. So we'll see what happens down towards turn 1. And if it's a shame for anyone, I'm sure we'll have one person somehow get caught up in something down towards that first corner, because it is a really long run in towards turn 1. It's a little bit like Monza. I always say turn 1 at Mexico is very similar. If not, it's the same, isn't it? It's a long straight into a 90-degree right-hander. It's just that you don't carry the 360 kilometers an hour that you would in Monza. A lot around here, it's a lot higher wings. So I'd probably say you're looking at around max 320, 30 kilometers an hour, which is still quite a lot of speed to carry into one braking zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone has just asked me, do I commentate on my own game? I'm not really too sure what you mean by that. I am in the lobby right now, yeah, but I'm not really too sure what you mean by that. We're just getting everyone into the lobby now, and fingers crossed we should get this done very quickly. I saw someone in the chat say earlier that we're going to have some dry running to start off this race, which I'm very excited to see. No signs of rain at any point, which I think is the best sort of thing for a race, because even though it is very interesting to see what can happen come race time, it really does separate the men from the boys. It doesn't make for the best racing, so I'm glad that we're staying sunny here in Mexico, and hopefully it's going to be 36 laps of fun, one of the longer races in terms of total lap count. Nathan, this of course on the older F1 games, I'm talking like F1 2019, this was actually a pretty viable 2-stop race, which isn't really the case anymore, but strategy has always been very fun here.
It has, yeah. I think, if we look at last game, I think it was just, I just did not enjoy commentating F1 22 because it was the exact same every single race. I think it was always hard to medium strategy. If there was a safety car when it come towards the pit stops, it was absolutely boring because there'd be no battling at the pits. Now, at least we have battling. The strategy's a lot better. The tyre drop-offs a lot different. So, you do have people going for a bit of a different start. You have people on the soft hards, sometimes the mediums, but not as often. And then when it comes to the pit stops, that's when we see the real battling, because you'll have people pitting 3, 4, 5, 6 laps out than the others, and end up coming from being 10 seconds back to leading the race or being ahead of the drivers that pitted really early. So I think, the battling that we can get, and that's produced from this different tyre model going into this game, is just beautiful. And that is one thing I can thank EA for, because at least what the tyre model's done in terms of entertainment is just, it's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this has been a really great game for league racing. It's been very fun to watch week in, week out. F1 22, especially towards the end of the year, was just getting so stale. But it's really been fun on F1 23, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed about F1 24 that it is just as exciting as this. Of course, Nathan, normally around this point we're sort of talking about the next game, because that's when esports is over, but no indication at the moment, so it's we're in a bit of a weird limbo where I'm not too sure whether I want to talk about the game that we're playing right now or one that we're going to get in the next couple of months or whatever, but it is very, very weird times that we're living in the esports sphere. I can see a lot of drivers readying up, one of them being Luke Smith. So Nathan, I think finally we're going to get underway.
Indeed, I saw someone's comment in the chat about that Christmas present pack is wild. They used to get a backdrop. Yeah, that wasn't meant to be there for that long. It was meant to be there for a few days, but I kind of left it there. And it's not just got my stuff in. Everyone else has thought, oh, that's Bagsy's room. We'll just put my stuff in there, so so I don't have to fill up my room. So I got random people's stuff in my bag at the corner of the room. I need to move it. I look like I'm Santa or something. I've got the size to be Santa. I've got Christmas bags. I need to move it all out, and then it looks a lot less Christmassy. Because Christmas to me, I didn't find Christmas that Christmassy. Did you, Dan?
I had a great time. I love Christmas. Always.
I think it was good, but it just didn't feel the same as like pre-COVID. I don't know.
I guess you're older now and stuff. So I mean, before COVID, I was 15 years old. Now I'm 20. So weird times that we're living in. I want to note on my backdrop, that's my school blazer, which I haven't used in well, I guess 2 years since I left sixth form. But that just
It's
shows
still there.
shows my sophistication that I have, Nathan. I'm not Father Christmas or anything. So next week, before we get into the race, I'll bring you up on that. Make sure you got the nicest background possible. Before we head into the race, please join us trackside after a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Trackside here in Mexico. Beautiful, sunny, blue skies. Getting ready for the start of this race here today, where we've got a packed sort of paddock stand of all the fans watching. Very excited to watch WOR commence. Very, very excited to see what goes on this evening. We've got 1,000 people waiting to see who comes out on top, and what a story we've had so far in qualifying. Reese Linton, if you've just joined us now, Reese Linton is on pole position, where we've got Philip Presnader in second. Third is Otis Lawrence. Fabrizio Donoso is in fourth. And you've got to be thinking, where's Jarno Ottmar? Where's Jake Benham? The two Mercedes eliminated in Q2. And surely then, after you know the fate of those guys, where's Nico? Where's Thomas? Both of them, of course, retiring very early on in Q1, meaning that we've got such a massive, massive spread of grid here this evening, and I'm very excited to see how it all kicks off. Unfortunately, Nathan isn't joining me at the minute. He's just gone to get a quick drink, so you get to hear my wonderful tones at the moment. Very excited to begin this Grand Prix. We're in that awkward period of not knowing how long to talk for, because we've not got the little timer anymore, and we're gonna have to talk now because here it is, 5 red lights beginning this race. And we are underway. Reese Linton off like a shot, heading down in towards turn at number 1. But Philip Presnader gets a very good run. They're going to draw wheel to wheel, heading in towards the first corner. Here comes Donoso. Here comes Lawrence. They're going to be 4 abreast into the braking zone. Who's going to be the last on the brakes? It's going to be Reese Linton with Otis Lawrence around the outside. Otis Lawrence going to switch it now on the inside line and get ahead of Reese Linton, who's now going to suffer the same fate as what? Oh dear, there's lots of smoke further back behind. Reese Linton has fallen down the order. He's been overtaken by Fabrizio Donoso and is now feeling the pressure from Shanaka Clay. Meanwhile, at the front of the order, Fabrizio Donoso going to the lead. They're all piling into this beautiful second sector, but at the end of it all, Fabrizio Donoso leads.
Indeed, and what a first lap that was, or first sector. Everyone battling for loads of positions on the grid. We've got a few people on the mediums, most of the hards, and Donoso on the softs. That's also, I think it was Jack Wester going a little bit wide at the SC section. The Ferrari's making a really good start, up to 14th and 15th. And Nicholas Longo was down at 20th at the start, so a really good improvement from him on the grid to make himself up into that top 14. We've got further back Luke Smith looking for a move on Reese Linton. Reese goes deep. Now Luke's going to try and make a move. That's further behind. That'll be Alvaro Caraton making a move on Kai Pearce. A bit of contact between them and Philip Presnader as they head down in towards the final corner at the Peril Tardam. We can see Philip himself ahead of Kai and Alvaro, but they haven't lost that 1 second to the top 5. So that could be hard for their race. Benjamin McConnell dropped into P14. He's in the pits along with Will Lewis. So a very poor first lap for those guys. We can see further ahead Reese Linton looking for a move ahead as Ish Van Pook is retired in the pit. So he's also had a bit of an incident somewhere.
Chaotic beginning to this race. Lots of elbows out very, very early on here. Alvaro Caraton and Kai Pearson still going wheel to wheel, heading through the first sector. Now you can see the tyre compounds that everyone has selected. Fabrizio Donoso, the lone soft runner in this Grand Prix. Very interesting play from him there. Alvaro Caraton and Chanakinchi, both of them on a set of the mediums. Here's Jarno Ottmar going at the inside of Kai Pearson, who's beginning to sink down the order. Chanakinchi doing his best to defend on his set of the mediums. Nicholas Longe, as you mentioned, Nathan, a fantastic beginning for him. Up 6 spots in this Grand Prix into P12, and he's knocking on the door of the top 10.
He is indeed, and Jake Benham as well. He had a bit of a poor stop, dropped all the way down to P18 on that first initial lap. Got himself back up into the top 13. As you can see, Svan Puka's tire car just entering towards terminal where it will just stop and will disappear off of your screen. But also Thomas Ronhar making a decent start. He was also down at the back. He's down to the top 14 just behind Jake Benham and Nicholas Longate. See further ahead, John Ottman has got himself within that 1 second gap now of Chanakinchi. He's in that top 10 on this race. You can see Fabrizio Donato sets the fastest lap. He was obviously in first, and he's on the soft tyres with a 1:18.055. That gap 1.7 seconds separating him and Otis Lawrence. You can see Shanaka Clay as well. Decent start. He's now up into the top 3 as they head down in towards turn 1 on the 3rd lap of this race. And Luke Smith's starting to lose that top 3. He's 8 tenths behind Shanaka Clay, so he's going to try and find something now in this next lap to try and comfortably keep himself within a second, as well as Reece Linton. Also, a bit of a poor start. Started first, down to P5 as Will Lewis gets a 5-second penalty for speeding the pits. He is out of the session. Dan, I bet you're glad you didn't pick him for pole now.
I'm glad I didn't pick him for pole position, but I'm completely heartbroken. Will Lewis out of this race. We've also seen Duncan Hoffland come into the pit lane for a set of the medium tyres, interestingly enough. Ben Shabakonyi also did go into the pit, so the pair of them, they've already done their 1 mandatory stop. I'd imagine Duncan nor Bench actually are going to be able to get to the end of this race, so they're going to be needing a safety car at some point. Nicholas Longue once again following this incredible start that he's having. He's hungry for more as Jake Benham further off behind gets it all wrong through turn number 11. Might be feeling the pressure from Thomas Ronhart in behind at the minute. Thomas, he's also had a very good start, starting of course last on the grid. He's now found his way up into P14. Of course, a lot of drivers having many incidences. We've already lost 2 runners in this Grand Prix thus far, so it really has been a bit of a scrappy start. Thomas Ronhart with a great exit off the exit of the final corner on Jake Benham, but Jake is going to be able to utilise the DRS and is doing very well here as Alvaro Carreton gets through on both Philip Presnader and Reece Linton, making those mediums work.
Yeah, and Reece Linton now down to P7 in this race. He won't have DRS because he was behind the detection zone coming out the final corner, meaning he won't get it down towards turn 4. Philip and Overo will both get it. They can try and get themselves back within a second of Luke Smith, who's in the top 4. But this race is going from bad to worse for Reece Linton. Started on pole, now down to P7. He's got Chanakinchi, Yano Hotmere also right behind. For the back, we can see Kai Pearson battling with Nicholas Longue for P11. Nicholas gets himself ahead of Kyle, put himself in that top 11. Brilliant start so far from the Ferrari driver. His teammate is on Pookie, retired in the pits, so I'm not sure what happened to him, but obviously wasn't the best start at all. He's out of this race, so it's all down to the one Ferrari man now to see what he can do and get some decent points on the board for the Ferrari team. Further back, we can see as well Jake Benham under lots of pressure from Thomas Ronhart. Thomas, you can see getting close into many corners, but never close enough to try and launch an attack on the Mercedes, so we're just going to have to try and wait and bide his time until that opportunity presents itself to the RHG driver. Further up, we can see his teammate Chanakinchi currently sitting in P8, just ahead of Yano Hotmere. Did a very good job on those opening ups to hold off from the Mercedes, and now it's his turn to try and attack the AlphaTauri of Reece Linton, who's had yet again a poor exit out of the final corner. You can see Chan use all that battery. He's got no battery at all in that car, so Chan's used all of it on those opening laps. Now he's looking to close in on Reece Linton. Can he make a move into turn 1? He gets close, but you can see that battery not being there just made him not close up enough to get a move into turn 1. But I'm not sure what's happened to Reece Linton, so I don't think he's got damage. I just think, along with just not having a good start, he could also be suffering with a little bit of pressure.
Similar to what we saw with Tamas Gal in Saudi Arabia, where of course he started on pole position and was relegated to about P5 a couple laps in. It's been a lot worse for Reece Linton thus far. He could be at the mercy of Chanakinchi very soon, and if Reece Linton is struggling for pace, Chan's going to get through as soon as possible, because of course being on that set of the mediums, he will have to pit a lot earlier than all of the hard runners. Same goes for Alvaro Carreton, and it's to an even greater extent for Fabrizio Donoso, who had a decent start, got about 2 seconds clear of Otis Lawrence, but now Otis is slowly beginning to reel him in. 1.2 seconds is the gap between first and second at the minute, and of course DRS is so powerful around this track. You got that really long run down in towards turn at number 1, and to add insult to injury, if you lose your place through there, it's a back-to-back DRS zone, and so you will not have DRS for that run in towards turn number 4. Coming to the end then of lap number 5, Fabrizio Donoso still leading. Otis Lawrence getting very close to the DRS zone, but he's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, I think next lap Otis should surely be within that DRS, so we can see yet again Chanakinchi a decent run out the final corner. He's gaining in on Reece, but yet again that defence from Reece is really helping him down towards turn 1. Chan can't find a way through. Thomas Ronhart, however, has made his way through on Jake Benham, and also Nicholas Longue through on Jack West to pop himself now into the top 10. Started 19th now in that top 10, looking for some points here. It's Nicholas Longue. Then his rival, I suppose you could say in this championship, is Yano Hotmere, who's just a second ahead on track, who's actually going to be seen ahead. Chanakinchi make a move on Reece Linton for P7. Brilliant move there from Chan to finally get himself ahead of the AlphaTauri driver. You can see Yano now will be looking to reel in Reece Linton very shortly. That gap now just down to 4/10 of a second. Oh, what this could have been for Reece Linton. Maybe we hyped him up too much after that qualifying phase, but he's now with the pressure from the one of the reigning champions here in WOR, Yano Hotmere, and Nicholas Longue just behind.
Absolutely. I mean, Reece Linton, the best in qualifying this evening. Jan Otmar, we know how good he is in the race. We'll see the difference in pace that they have, especially in this final sector. What has happened to Reece Linton? Did he have a quali tune setup and he's not got one for the race? That might be the case as to what's happened here. Of course, with the lobby restart, he was able to change the setup to whatever he wanted. So very interesting to see how he's now lost that 1 second window that he needs to get DRS on Reece Linton. It's not looking very good for him at the moment in this, on Chanakinji. It's not looking very good for the AlphaTauri driver at the moment. Seems like we've hit a bit of a low point in this Grand Prix. Lap number 7 of 36. Still a long way to go. 30 laps to go in this Grand Prix. No one really beginning to think about a pit stop anytime soon. We're watching Luke Smith get very close to the rear of Shanika Clay, but he is not going for the move at all. Sitting back, waiting for the best opportunity here.
Yeah, no, you wonder, obviously, with Otis Lawrence being within that 1 second for Fabrizio Donoso, you start to wonder, is that soft tyre the way to go at the start? Because that advantage he has completely been eliminated by, 6 or 7 laps in. So maybe this isn't the best for Fabrizio Donoso. He just needs to hope these tyres can keep holding on for a few more laps until he can put himself onto a set of medium or hard tyres to take those to the end of the race. We know a 2-stop isn't really viable at all, so I don't think we'll see him go for 2 pits. Obviously, he'll have to go for 1 stop, but he'll have to stretch these off a lot longer than they are now. Probably still around lap 15, lap 16. Kai Pearson, he's the first to get a penalty. A 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings on the track limit, so that's not ideal at all for the McLaren driver. Obviously, his teammate Otis Lawrence sitting in the top 2 so far, doing a very good job in this race, and Kai's also nearly 1 second back from Jack West, meaning Thomas Ronhard will be closing very quickly to try and make a move ahead of Kai. Well, back to the front now, we can see Otis Lawrence gaining in. Can he try and take the lead away from Fabrizio Donoso to the inside line? He's using that battery. He's using some of that slipstream to get himself ahead of Fabrizio as they head down towards turn 1. And also we can see Jack Clay closing. Can he make a move for P2? He's going to close into the inside, tries to hook it up the inside of Fabrizio. Can't get it done there. Has to go for a switchback move if he can at turn 3. Can't make much there, but he did get a decent exit. Fabrizio had a big slide coming out of turn 3, so it's going to move to the inside line for Shanaka Clay. Can he make himself ahead? Yes, he can. What about Luke Smith? Can he also try and pop himself ahead of Fabrizio? No, he can't. He's stuck behind, but you can see now Fabrizio starting to lose some time in this race. His tyres starting to become a little bit more less grip, so he's sliding all over the place.
Nice start from Shanaka Clay there. Was very close to going to the back of Fabrizio Donoso, but timed it absolutely perfectly to get that move, and he finds his way into P2. Fabrizio Donoso now going to be regretting going onto the set of the soft compound tyres to start off this race. Really interesting call from him there, because it just shows how easy it is to overtake around this circuit. And if you're going for that very long undercut, once you get caught up by the rest of the drivers, you're a sitting duck. So Fabrizio Donoso maybe going to be in a bit of a tough position in this Grand Prix. We're watching Philip Presnader at the moment, close to the rear of Alvaro Carreton. Alvaro Carreton's medium size going to be falling off in pace ever so slightly in comparison to the hards, who are going to be phasing very nicely into this Grand Prix. But it seems like with the DRS train in effect, it's not going to be very difficult to make these moves stick. But here is Luke Smith on the rear of Fabrizio Donoso, is beginning to lose time now to the 2 leaders. Shanika further up ahead, pulls to the inside and will move ahead in towards that braking zone. Luke Smith will go up the inside of Fabi, and we've just seen 2 moves in that one corner.
Yeah, and this is good for Alvaro Carreton to try and get himself ahead of Fabrizio, because Fabrizio, he has got the dress, down towards turn 4, so that doesn't give Alvaro much of an advantage down towards that braking zone. We can see further ahead now, Fabrizio's closing on the back of Luke Smith, but it's nothing too good at all. He's just going to be stuck behind Luke, I think, now, until he drops behind lots of the others, because those softs will start to die a lot more now in this race. Once he's been overtaken by a few of the hard runs, he's got Alvaro on the mediums, who will also be very quick on those tyres as well, so he should surely be looking to get a move ahead soon. But Shanaka and Otis Lawrence are just going to be playing the DRS game, just overtaking each other down towards turn 1 on every occasion, and then just, they're not going to fight. There's no point fighting, there's no point Otis sticking behind, because the overspeed you can get down towards turn 1 is mental. So then Luke Smith will just pop himself by, so they're just going to keep swapping positions. It's like what we've seen in Las Vegas in some occasions. You just swap positions at lap after lap, and then obviously you get to the final lap, so that's when you can have a big battle for position. But further back as well, and you can see it's starting to get a little bit more dull. No one really being able to make overtakes. Jan Otmar is just within a second of Chanakich, so he needs to try and keep himself within that 1 second comfortably as he continues on this stint in the hard tyres. But we'll see Chan and Alvaro's tyres probably start to die down within the next 2 or 3 laps now, because those winners will start to hit a drop-off point.
And here comes Otis Lawrence once again, pulling to the inside, and we'll move into the lead. So like Nathan said, they're just going to be swapping positions, because really you're going to lose so much time to the cars behind if you back off and try not to go for the move. You're really the best option is to actually move for the lead, which is normally something drivers don't tend to like doing. They don't like leading the Grand Prix, because it allows for you, if you're running in second, it allows for you to sort of charge up the battery, save your resources, and go later in the race where it really doesn't matter. You can't win the race on lap number 10. You've got to wait right until the very end of it to make your move, and it's just a game of chess as to who is going to blink first. And then when that person does, it really does kick off. As we've been watching Philip Prejnader get very close to the rear of Alvaro Carreton for the last few laps. Of course, Alvaro's medium tyre is going to be falling off very soon. Here comes Philip in towards turn number 12, getting close, but he's not going to go for the move this time by, I'd imagine. Turn number 1 is going to be the striking zone for Philip here.
It could be, yeah, you can see the medium starting to drop off a little bit more. Chanakinchi sitting just behind. And Yano, you can see, is also gaining time on Chanakinchi on that lap alone. So we'll see, can we get a move from Philip down towards someone? He's not had the best exit himself, has he really? He's lost, well, he's not really gained much anyway on Alvaro out of that final corner. We'll see what his top speed can do down towards someone, because he's got Chanakinchi gaining very quickly, using some battery to try and get a move ahead. Can't close in, upward about pressure. Can he try and close in on Carreton? In towards turn 1, it's going to be Chanakinchi to the inside line. Can he make a move? He breaks later to the inside. That's also Fabi going deep. That allows him to lose position. As you can see as well, that'll be over again ahead of Fabi. Now you can see Philip also looking to get ahead. That's Chanakinchi pushing Philip off out of turn 3 down towards turn 4. But also went really deep, and that just allowed that whole swap of cars to get involved, and that definitely could have caused a lot more than it did.
Here comes Philip Prejnader, still fighting it out with Chanakinchi. Chan is not giving this one up, rubbing wheels as they head now through turn number 5. A little bit aggressive from Chanakinchi there to get the move done, but it has worked out in his favour. Philip Prejnader going to be feeling very hard done by on what has just transpired there. Jano Opmeer as well, getting the best seat in the house, and if something kicks off heading in towards turn number 1, could be the Dutchman that is the big beneficiary there. He's not really phased into the Grand Prix as much as he would have liked to at this point in this race, but we'll see what happens to Jano Opmeer as this race progresses. You can see Chanakinchi has got less than 10% of the battery, and so he will be struggling to defend that position from Philip Prejnader as they head in towards Peril Sada to begin at lap number 12. Philip has 46% in the battery, but Jano Opmeer only 25% for the Dutchman, so it looks like Philip Prejnader might seize his opportunity this time by and go for the move on Chanakinchi. He's closing, but he's not using any of the battery. He'll stay behind in P7 for the time being as Shanika Clay moves back into the lead.
Yep, we can see Shanika take the lead away from Otis, and Luke still sitting in that P3 spot now. We come to lap 12:36, so give it another 4 or 5 laps. We'll probably start to see people peeling into the bits. I'm not sure about the soft one, but surely Victor will be in quite earlier than some of these hard and medium runners. The medium runners will probably also be in a little bit earlier than those on the hards, obviously, to swap onto their new set of tyres. So we'll see what they choose to do. But the strategy is where I think the key thing comes into this race. I think the on-track battle hasn't been the most exciting at this point, because a lot of people are on the same sides, apart from some of those who are on the mediums and softs. But I think once we have those differentiation of tyre age, that's when everything happens. That's when everything breaks loose. And I think we'll see some very surprising moves and some people in surprising places, because maybe if you pick one lap earlier, that could save you 3 or 4 positions.
Absolutely, and it really does impact it on this game. It wasn't really all that strong on the last game, the tyre drop off. You could be a lap or 2 on older tyres than another driver, and you can be sort of similar pace, but it really does make a big difference on this F1 23 game. So do watch out for who decides to go for the undercut. I'd imagine we're going to see lots of drivers try and go as long as possible on their set of the hards, mediums, or indeed softs if your name is Fabrizio Donoso. Here comes Otis Lawrence once again on Shanika Clay. Shanika holding that inside line. It's going to force Otis around the long way here, but he will get through very nicely indeed and finds his way in to P1. Wow, Reese Linton down in P12 now. From starting on pole position, it's been nothing but down from him. Thomas Ronhard found his way in to the top 11 here. Reese Linton once again relegated another position.
Yeah, and he's now going to be under pressure soon from his one of his room teammates of Kai Pearson, who's in P13. Kai's also got a penalty, so it's not been a best race from him so far, along with Tamar Shkala, who's also had a bit of a poor start, but he did tell me earlier on that he has been positive for COVID, so he's not feeling too well. So that could be another reason why he hasn't really performed as much as he would have liked to in this evening so far. Obviously, Jake Benham also really poor start for him. He's dropped down from P13 to P15. He's also struggling to keep with the back of Tamar Shkala in that 1 second, so he's also just not doing too well. Maybe it could be something to do with setup for the Mercedes. Obviously, Jarno had a big trouble in qualifying along with Jake. Jake struggled in the race, but it could also be down to that setup just not being fine-tuned enough for the Mercedes drivers to enjoy it as much.
Absolutely is. We're approaching, I think we're 5 laps out from sort of the halfway point of this Grand Prix, but we are certainly getting up there in tyre age, especially for Richard Donoso, who's feeling the pressure from Chanakinchi. It's been a really good race for Chan thus far. He'll close the gap to Fabrizio, then go up the inside in towards turn number 1. Thinks about it, will pull back into the wheel tracks of Fabrizio Donoso, then once again go up the inside in through turn number 1, have the outside for turn 2, but he'll use the difference in grip that his medium tyres are giving him, as a little bit of contact with Philip Presnader there will open the door for Jarno Opmeer potentially in towards the corner. They go at turn number 4. The Flying Dutchman will go up the inside to find his way potentially into P7. Philip Presnader ever so slightly boxed in by Fabrizio Donoso there. Little bit of wheel banging with the Mercedes driver, and Fabrizio Donoso, I'm losing my words because Nicholas Longe is up the inside of Jarno Opmeer, and these two world online racing champions, both of them off the circuit, heading through in towards this second sector, still side by side as they head through the S's, and somehow, some way, Jarno Opmeer has remained ahead. Here comes Jack West off the exit and on towards the DRS straight. Jarno Opmeer defending his P8 like a lion, and Jack West finds his way through, attacking the wounded gazelle that is Nicholas Longe.
Well, look what that's done to the top 5. The gap's 1.5 seconds now up to the top 5. All that battling behind has cost them all so much time. You can see Donoso to the pits, and they will have a long run down towards turn 1 again. Jarno Opmeer's got DRS. We'll see if he can get himself ahead of Philip Presnader, who's got that good run, hasn't he? He's got lots of top speed on that. Mercedes just flies.
Oh my.
Presnader down towards turn 1, along with Jack West, along with Nicholas Longe, along with possibly Thomas Ronner if he can get in. But he's going to watch it all unfold ahead of him as they head into turn 1. Longe looking from ahead of Jack West, does get that move back ahead, and now he's going to get himself ahead of Jarno Opmeer. Down towards turn number 4, they go back on the hole yet again for one more time in towards turn 4 with that DRS. We'll see who can make moves. Can anyone find a move? I don't think they can. No one's able to find anything in towards turn number 4. You can see Philip now just tapping the back of Jack in towards turn 4. Jack went a little bit deep, nearly hit the back of Presnader, as that's also going to be Ronhard back through at the inside at turn 6. Brilliant move there from Ronhard to get himself ahead. Dear me, Dan, it's always at turn 6. Something unfolds.
Incredible scenes here on lap number 15. Thomas Ronhard has found a decent few positions in all of that fighting. Philip Presnader, the biggest loser. He's lost now, 4 places in the span of just one lap. Jarno Opmeer, Nicholas Longe, Jack West, and Thomas Ronhard all find a way through, to the annoyance of the Alpine driver, might I add, because he's got Reese Linton as well, still up his rear in towards the third sector, but I think it's all calmed down ever so slightly now. However, got to note one thing, Jarno Opmeer has lost bags of time to Chanakinchi in all of that fighting. It's now been 2.4 seconds is the gap, and Jarno Opmeer comes into the pit lane. Very interesting, actually, from the Dutchman, because typically, Nathan, he loves the overcut. Jarno Opmeer goes early.
Yeah, we normally see him go for a bit of an overcut, so a bit of a weird structure there from Jarno. As you can see, Otis set the lead away from Shanaka Clay as well on lap 16 and 36, but maybe just wants to get himself in a bit of clean air and not keep fighting with lots of Nicholas and all those further back, because they know they've got a large gap too. Chanakinchi and those ahead, so maybe that undercut could also help him get a bit of a move ahead of those guys. So obviously, we know that Chan and Alvaro took those mediums 15 laps and they're still comfortable on those tyres, so mediums we know can go quite far in this race as they've shown so far. But you can see that gap now, it's slowly coming back down from Nicholas Longe to Chanakinchi, but it's still not an ideal pump, because you've got lots of Jack West and Thomas Ron, who've also got good high speed, who'll be looking to get themselves ahead of Nicholas Longe soon, because yeah, Nico's quick, but his straight line speed isn't as quick as I think lots of Jack West. He flew past a couple of drives down towards turn 1.
Yeah, Nathan, just give a little check to the race director, see if Jarno Opmeer potentially had any damage, but it doesn't look like it, because he's not too far off the back of Fabrizio Donoso at the minute. Jarno Opmeer, very interesting call to see him come in this early, even earlier than some of the medium runners of Alvaro Carton and Chanakinchi, who are still out on circuit, neither of them deciding to pit at the end of lap number 16. We are very rapidly approaching the halfway point of this Grand Prix. How many drivers are going to try extend for a set of the soft compound of tyre? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's around about lap number 22, 23 is when we start to see pit stops around this circuit for the set of the hards. I'd imagine ever so slightly earlier for Alvaro and Chan, but we'll see what happens. We still got half of this Grand Prix left to go.
Yeah, and Nicholas, that was Thomas Ronhard, made a really good move ahead of Nicholas then towards someone. He tapped the back of the Ferrari in towards that braking, so got very close to the rear, but luckily made it through safe and sound. Jack West also sitting comfortably behind in that P8. Jack has done a decent job this race as well. Didn't start in the best position. He was obviously out in Q2, started P11, but he's now comfortably within the top 10, and he's comfortably going to be looking for some points here today in this race, as long as the rest of this second stint goes well. He can keep himself out of a bit of trouble. You can see Philip Presnader also starting to lose the back of some of these trainers. He also was on the front row, and you got to remember it was Reese Linton on pole ahead of Philip Presnader. They're now sitting 9th and 10th. It's not been a good race at all for those starting near the top, but for Otis Thompson, who started 3rd, it's going perfect for him along with Shanaka Clay and Luke Smith.
Absolutely. Otis Lawrence, of course, was my prediction to take pole position. He might go on better and win this Grand Prix. Nathan, we never actually submitted our predictions, so I'm not going to try and say that Otis Lawrence, I knew it from the start. Well, I thought that he would, but I'm not going to say it's my official prediction there, as Jack West will be the next one to come into the pit lane. Still no sign of Alvaro Carreton or Chanakinchi coming into the box. Maybe following in this train has allowed for them to save up some of their resources as Thomas Ronhard gets through on Nicholas Longue. These two have had a bit of an icy history in the past. Good to see that they're able to respectfully race on circuit as Jarno Opmeer takes the fastest lap of the Grand Prix with 2-lap-old medium tyres. Will be ahead of Jack West and Tamas Gal once they come out of the pit lane by some decent margin. But Nathan, of course, we know on this F1 23 game, 2 laps of difference in tyre wear really is going to bite Jarno Opmeer later on in this Grand Prix. Yeah,
definitely. You look at 2 and 3 lap gaps and you think it's nothing, but you can lose 3 or 4 tenths of a second on a lap, which is mental. Obviously, for people like me who are bad, it wouldn't make much of a difference. But for these people who've got to, they're going to use everything to the millimeter, to the, what's the word, the millisecond. They're going to use everything to that point. A lap of difference makes a lot. So they've got that could definitely hamper Jarno near the end. But if he can defend well, he could be in a good position coming towards the end of the race, because he's got a 6.2 second gap ahead of Jack West, who was in that train. So that undercut has helped him heavily. Being out of that train, being out of all that battling, has led him to pull so much far ahead of the field. And also, Donoso doing a brilliant job. He's technically the net leader of the race on those 3-lap-old mediums. He will also be struggling a little bit towards the end unless he can defend really well.
We'll have to wait and see how this race unfolds. We are now past the halfway point of this Grand Prix. Nicholas Longue is going back for the move on Thomas Ronheim towards turn number 1. Philip Preschneider waiting in the wings, and Kai Pearson finds his way through on Reese Linton, so towards the lower end of the top 10. They're all chopping and changing positions, but it's been very stable at the front for a number of laps now. That top 5 doing a very good job of saving their tyres and going long into this Grand Prix. Otis Lawrence, Shanika Clay, they've led this race pretty much since they were able to get through on Fabrizio Donoso around about lap number 7 in this Grand Prix. Luke Smith has also been running in third ever since he overtook Fabi, and Alvaro and Chan, they've had a bit of a rocky pass in this Grand Prix thus far, but both of them doing really well at the minute. So we're just waiting to see who in this top pack, this top 5, are going to decide to come into the pit lane and trigger that undercut, because once they do, surely everyone else is going to start thinking about their stop.
Yeah, surely. I think the top 3 should be coming within the next 2 or 3 laps, would presume, but it depends if they want to go really long on the tyres, because how much of a gap they got to lots of Nico, and then obviously that gap down will also be quite large. I think it's 8 seconds between Fabi and Jay. There we are, a few people into the pits. That was Otis Lawrence, I think it was Luke Smith and Alvaro Carreton there, all into the pits on new tyre. Clay now leads ahead of Chanakinchi and Nicholas Longue. Thomas Ronhard in 4th. Those two, Nico and Thomas, got at the back there now, sitting 3rd and 4th in this Grand Prix. They've had a very good start. You can see Ronhard also looking for a move ahead of Nico to pop himself into that top 3 now in this race, or you could say one of the net top 3s, because at the moment you've got lots of Fabi and Jarno who pitted, who are going to be starting to catch up to these guys very, very soon. We can see Otis Lawrence, where's he come out in all of this? He's come out 4 seconds behind Jarno Opmeer, but he's got 4 lap pressure tyres. He'll be flying to get up to the Dutchman.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good to see that Otis Lawrence have been able to keep ahead of the likes of Tamas Gal, Jack West, and all the guys that have pitted ever so slightly earlier than him there. Of course, being caught behind those drivers really is going to hamper his performance later on in this race. Alvaro Carreton, of course, pitting for the hard compound tyres. He's done pretty much the exact same run as everyone else did, so he's really going to suffer later on in this Grand Prix, and actually he's going to be suffering right now, because those hard tyres are going to take a little bit of time to warm up. He'll lose a bit of time to Tamas Gal and Jack West, but once those mediums begin to fall off, he will be there to make up their position. So we'll just have to wait and see. We've got coming up towards 16 laps to go in this Grand Prix, so around about 20 minutes left of this race. Shanika Clay is into the pit lane on lap number 20, as is Chanakinchi. Thomas Ronhard, of course, double stacking does not work on this game, so he'll have to stay out for at least 1 more lap, as does Nicholas Longue and Philip Preschneider. All the pit stops now coming out at the moment, and Chanakinchi with a very aggressive soft strategy here, as Nicholas Longue and Thomas Ronhard do battle towards turn number 1, which resulted in Nicholas Longue going off the circuit in towards turn number 1 around the outside. He stayed in P2, but I'd imagine he might have got a warning there.
I just what happened there at all. I just heard you going on about it, and I thought, oh no, what's happened? But no, you can see Nico just sits behind in towards turn 4 on this occasion. However, you can see further back, Lotus Lawrence, they got that gap down to 3.8, so he's going to second on Yano in 1 lap alone. He's absolutely flying on these brand spanking new medium tyres, along with Luke Smith, who's just comfortably sitting behind the back of the McLaren as they head through in towards this start of this second set. And Tamas Gell as well, he pitted very early onto the set of mediums. He's within a second of Luke Smith, so he's in a very decent job as well in this race so far, considering he's running at the bottom part of the grid. He's could be at this point looking for some decent points here in this Grand Prix. Chanaka Clay also went onto the mediums. He's also closing in on the back of Jack West. But very odd strategy for Chanaka Kinchon to set us off. I feel like everything he's done, he's just gone for such aggressive tactics everywhere. Started on the mediums at the start, used all of his battery, now to have set us off to take them 15 laps. It just seems like Chanaka Kinch is all for the aggression here in this race.
As all the leaders now come into the pit lane, Kai Pearson also following in, so it'll leave Fabrizio Donoso leading this Grand Prix with Jarno Ottmer in second, third will be Otis Lawrence, and Luke Smith is in fourth position, Tamas Gao will be fifth, sixth Jack West, so on and so forth, as Thomas Ronhaar has gone for a set of the softs. Everyone else who's just pitted now has gone onto a set of the mediums, so very, very aggressive from both Alfa Romeo drivers there. We'll see how it works out. He will emerge in at P12 just behind Rita Linton at the moment, your pole sitter in this Grand Prix. Certainly, Nathan, I'm going to bring up the position changes in this race thus far. It's been a very wild one.
It has indeed. We can see that when I get the position changes up, there they are. We can see that Thomas Gall's moved up 14th position, Shano's moved up 11, which is a lot considering Jono was then in P13. He's also doing a decent job. We can see Chanaka Clay overtakes Jack West. That means Jack West has only moved up 4. Thomas Ronhaar moved up 8. Reese Linton, though, big story, has lost 10 positions along with Philip Pressure, just 14 position loss. It's been such a shame for those guys. They was looking so strong going in towards this race, and it just seems that maybe it was the setup that caused them to have issues. Maybe they didn't have a setup that was made for the race, or maybe they had a bit of a knock of confidence at the start, maybe due to incident, and then after that he just tumbled down and down and down. You can see Chanakichi move himself up into P8, but it is definitely a big shame for those two who are also looking to score no points here in this race. Thus far, we can see Ronhaar also gaining into the back of Reese Linton to make himself a move for P11 in this race. He's on the softs, he'll be flying compared to some of these drivers on the grid. He'll probably even be a few tenths of a second quicker than Otis Lawrence, who's also really, really quick at the moment. So we'll see what Thomas can do. But after he's had these 4 or 5 laps of fresh, brand new softs, he'll probably start to lose some positions, or at least not have that advantage they would have had. As you can see, Chanakinchi now into the top 7. Chance doing a brilliant job, qualified in the top 10. They're looking for some decent points. This could be really good for the day for the RHG team.
Absolutely, and it might be even better for Luke Smith, of course, one of the Alpine representatives, getting through on Otis Lawrence there, now in prime position to overtake both Fabrizio Donoso and Jarno Ottmer, the pair of them on very much worn out medium tyres. Luke Smith has 5 lap fresher tyres than Fabi, and then 4 lap fresher tyres than Jarno. These two young stars in the esports scene, the pair of them are going to have to take it to the old guard that is Fabrizio Donoso and Jarno Ottmer. Of course, Ottmer, the 2-time esports champion, Fabrizio Donoso second in the inaugural season, Luke Smith very much unproven on the grand stage, but he's doing a fantastic job of applying the pressure to Jarno Ottmer. Going to go very aggressive, trying for the move in towards turn number 4. Chanakinchi's around! Is that Chambra? Oh, it's Tamash, I think. Something's happened there between Chanakinchi and Tamash Gao in towards turn number 12. What's happened there? The pair of them both sent tumbling down the order. Tamash Gao, to a much greater extent, he was sideways along the circuit. Meanwhile, further up the order once again, here comes Luke Smith on the back of Jarno Ottmer and Fabrizio Donoso. Fabrizio Donoso will lose 2 places in one corner, as here comes Luke Smith around the outside. It's one former Alpine against the current, and the current one will come out on top with Otis Lawrence now going for the move off the exit of the corner. Easy as you like for the young Welshman, and he will get through on Fabrizio.
Yeah, brilliant move there from Otis Lawrence, but he's on 5 lap pressure tyres, so he'll be flying compared to Fabrizio. But you can see the top 2 now. Luke Smith sitting right behind Jarno Ottmer. That gap 0.3 of a second. Surely Jarno will lose some positions because Luke's just pushing him through some of these corners. We'll see in the SS section where Jarno's got absolutely no pace to carry because these mediums are really, compared to the newer mediums, already pretty much dead. You can see there Luke having to completely lift where he wouldn't like to. Will he make a move ahead of Jarno down towards turn 12 is the question. You can see he's going to the inside line. He backs off. No, he doesn't want to make the move Otis Lawrence also looking for an invitation there, but just couldn't get it in towards turn number 12. So we'll now see Jan Otmir probably lose 2 or 3 positions down towards turn number 1. You can see Luke will prepare the move out to the final corner, get himself a decent exit on the back of Jarno, along with Otis Lawrence, who will also be looking to get himself a move, would also like to probably get ahead of Luke Smith at the same time. Down towards turn 1 they go. Further back we can see also Shanaka Clay making a move ahead of Fabrizio. I don't know, so you can see Luke Smith to the inside line. Can he take the lead of the race ahead of Jan Otmir? Yes, he will. Luke Smith takes the lead, and Otis Lawrence going to look to make a move as well ahead of Jarno in towards turn 1. Can he try and take the lead away from Luke? No, he can't. But he'll be very close. Shanaka Clay gets 4th away from Fabrizio Donoso. They come out of turns 3, down towards turn 4 they go. Can we see Otis try and take the lead away from Luke? No, because Luke's got DRS. Otis has as well, so they don't really get much of an advantage then in towards turn 4. So it's Luke ahead of Otis, ahead of Jarno and Shanaka Clay.
Wow, incredible stuff on lap number 25. Luke Smith leading this Grand Prix ahead of Otis Lawrence, and Jan Otmir running it in 3rd position. He will just be sinking down the order, I fear, at this point, because Shanaka Clay is right behind him. Alvaro Carreton is a pretty decent ways back, actually. The top 5 really have broken away in this race. That would be a different story if Chanakinchi didn't have his little incident with Tamas Gown. That is 2 contenders who could have been fighting for some decent points in this race being eliminated. Jarno holds the inside just to let Shanaka Clay go through. There's no point trying to hold up the battle potentially for the win of this Grand Prix, and just you see the difference in pace, because Shanaka was following for half a lap behind Jan Otmir, already loses DRS to the top 2.
Well, this is good for Jan Otmir because Jan's got DRS down towards turn number 1. Shanaka won't have any at all in towards that first corner. So this is very good for Jarno, and also for Fabrizio Donoso, who's looking to gain in on the back of the Flying Dutchman in towards that first corner. Further ahead we can see Otis Lawrence takes the lead ahead of Luke Smith, and can Jarno close into Shanaka? He closes in by a little bit, but not really enough to make an effective move or make some effective mark at all down towards that first corner. We can see as well Fabi sticking in just behind Alvaro Carreton in P6. He's got a 1.4 second gap. That gap is slowly coming down. Alvaro's on the hard. He went for a different strategy to start, went from a medium to a hard tire. The only one to do that in this race. We'll see how that can work out for him, because he's done a decent job ahead of Jack West and just behind Fabrizio Donoso. We'll see if he can get himself within a second. As we can see further down, Nicholas Longa ahead of Reese Linton. Reese now dropping a further position down in this race, but he will get the position back as no, he goes off, so he doesn't get a position. He goes off the circuit, gets the 3-second penalty. So that allows to have Daniel Kielso on the inside, or around the outside towards the SC section. They go side by side, and who will get the position? Daniel gets a penalty. They have contact coming through. Kai Pearson through on Reese Linton, who drops down and that's Philip Pressure with the penalty. Oh goodness, Reese Linton down to P15. Kai Pearson up into the top 30 along with Philip Pressure. But Reese, that was, I think that battle between him and Daniel wasn't really needed too much there.
Yeah, why? I mean, why are they fighting for P12 at this point? Now they've sacrificed any real chance of taking any points in this Grand Prix, because all of them have got penalties. 11th down to 15th. All of them have a penalty to their name, one of them being Nicolas Longue. Very disappointing to see that from the Frenchman, as Fabrizio Donoso once again through on Jan Otmir. These two could be swapping positions for the time being. Luke Smith also just took the lead. Shanaka has not been able to get within that 1 second window that he needs to get DRS on these front 2. So it looks like potentially towards the end of the race it's going to be a battle between Luke Smith and Otis Lawrence.
Definitely, I think those two have been doing a perfect job so far this race. In qualifying, they was 2 of the quickest. In the race, they are still 2 of the quickest drivers. We can see further back yet again, Nicholas Longue making moves in this race ahead of Chanakinchi, who obviously had that incident earlier on with Tamas Gown, who's unfortunately dropped down to P16. He's pretty much out of this race in terms of having any hope to score points. If maybe he can catch him within 3 seconds of those guys ahead, he could try and make some positions due to that, but I don't think he'll be making much at all because of how far back he already is in this race. But Shanaka Clay, you'd think he's going to be pushing a little bit more now to try and get within a second of the top 2, but he's got no battery. He's got 3%, so he can't use any battery down towards someone to try and keep himself with the top 2. So he's just going to have to push as hard as he can with that raw natural talent and pace through some of these corners just to try and get himself back within a second. He gets ever so close. It was just under a second. It is under a second as they head down towards turn 1, but there's no DRS for Shanaka Clay, so he won't get it, will he?
No, it's that's the detection point is right before the Peraltada corner. Shanaka Clay, unfortunately, not in that range. He's just getting so close, but not enough to take the DRS, as Alvaro Carreton looking for the move on Jan Otmir in towards turn number 1. It'll actually be Alvaro going up the inside of Fabrizio Donoso though, but he has to back off. Those hard tires are going to be in much better condition than these wearing mediums, and Alvaro knows this because he's using some of the battery off turn number 3 and going for the move around the outside in towards turn number 4. No real point in Fabrizio Donoso fighting that one there, and Alvaro Carreton doing a fantastic job of getting himself up into P5, up 1 spot in this Grand Prix, and I don't think I've ever actually seen this. No one is in the original position that they started in this race. That is due to the fact that we've lost both Will Lewis and Istvan Pukki, but that is quite something very extraordinary, just really showing, Nathan, how intense this Grand Prix has and how unpredictable it really has been.
Yeah, it's been unpredictable from the start. We've seen people move from different positions up and down. Obviously, unfortunately, for the likes of Reese and Philip, they've dropped a lot down. But some drivers, you know, like Sir Thomas Ronhard, Nicholas Longe have made so many moves in this race to put themselves into higher positions. You can also include Jono in that, but he will start to drop a lot of time to those guys behind there, because you can see, look at that, he's pretty much leading a whole train through out to the final corner down towards someone with about 6 cars following Jarno in towards that first one. They got 4 seconds to the top 3. So Elbro and those behind aren't really going to be having much luck in terms of getting a podium in this race, but they'll definitely be fighting for a top 4 down towards turn 1. You can see everyone pulling out to try and make moves. You can see Elbro take people. Thomas Ronhard up the inside. Can Ronhard make the move? He's going to break later. No, he can't. He's still stuck behind Elbro in towards turn 1. He's going to try and push out to turn 3, down towards turn 4, making these soft tyres work. Will he get a decent run? No, Elbro and turns his DRS off, he turns it back on in towards that 4th corner. No moves can be made. Jarno down to P6. He's now got further back. We've got Nicholas Longe making a move on Jack West. Jack going deep. Jack's also looking for a move on to No, so they're making a bit of contact in towards turn number 6. They go side by side. Jack's going to have that inside line. Nicholas Longe looking for a way through. Can he get himself ahead of Fabby? He's going to close in. It's going to be side by side through towards turn number 7. To the outside goes Longe, and he makes a move ahead, and also Fabby goes off circuit.
Wow, incredible stuff that we're seeing there. Thomas Ronhard was on for a triple overtake in towards turn number 1. Didn't quite come off, and he was very close to getting the move done on Alvaro Carrington. But those softs still going to be pretty decent condition as we're heading up towards 7 laps to go in this race. It really is all over the place. No one is able to stay in one position for, it feels like, at least 1 lap at this point. But yeah, lap number 30, 7 laps to go here. Luke Smith, Otis Lawrence and Shanika Clay. It looks like these 3 are going to be the ones to take the fight towards the end of this race and see who wins this Grand Prix. As Thomas Ronhard will get up the inside of Alvaro Carrington in towards turn number 1. Further back behind, Nicholas Longe looking for the overtakers. Oh, Fabrizio Donoso sliding his way in through turn number 1. Fabrizio Philip Prejane will go up the inside, try and make this move stick around the outside of turn number 2. We'll have the inside for turn number 3, and Fabrizio Donoso on the cusp of being eliminated from the points paying positions. And there comes Jake Benham up the inside off the exit of the corner. Fabrizio Donoso sinking like a stone, because here comes Kai Pearson. Oh, bit of contact, squeezed Philip Prejane in between Kai Pearson and Fabrizio Donoso. You gotta feel for Philip in this race, because he has been in the bounce. He's just been ruined this entire Grand Prix thus far, and he's down into 14th after starting in 2nd. The front row of Reese Linton and Philip Prejane starting this race 1 and 2, now on 14th and 15th.
It seems like every race that Philip's in, he gets used as a moving braking zone. Every time someone just hits the back of him to try and make themselves into the corner. It's not fair for Philip, and I'm sure he's very annoyed. But at least he's still here racing with us and still trying to get to the end of the race and try and score himself some points if he can. But that penalty really will not help him at all in this race. But back to back, we can see Longe looking for a move ahead of Jarno Opmeer, the 2 champions. Obviously, Jarno being the reigning champion, Nicholas Longe, former champion here, going to look for a move down towards turn number 1. You can see Nico to the inside line. Can he break later to make a move ahead of Jarno? He's got 6 lap better times. He should easily be able to make a move, but no, Jarno breaks later. Nicholas has to go around the outside. You can see Jarno covering his track through turns 1, 2 and 3 down towards turn 4. This is where Nico yet again needs to try and launch an attack on the Flying Dutchman. He's got some battery to use. He's going to pull to the inside line if he can. Jarno to the outside. It's going to be an outside mover for Nico. He keeps to the outside line. He has to go all the way around at turn 4. The inside at turn 5. They make a bit of contact. Jarno goes off circuit completely at turn number 5. He has to try and get a good run into turn 6. Because Jack West is on the scene, making a move ahead of Jarno. Brilliant move there from Jack West to try and just see that opportunity present itself. He went for it and he got the move done. Jack West doing brilliantly in this race. He's now going to have to try and catch up to the back of Nicholas Longe. Now it's the 2 teammates at Mercedes coming together. Will Jake Benham get himself ahead of Jarno? He's got 4 lap better. He looks better on pace, surely. Been
a good Grand Prix from Jake Benham, all things considered. Started very slow at the beginning of this one, but he's been able to stay out of all the drama, which I think is just the most important thing. That is what's necessary along here in WOR Tier 1, because Jake Benham has really just avoided everything that's happened in front of him. And you look at the drivers actually behind him. Philip Prejane has been bullied this whole Grand Prix. Chanakinchi and Tamas Gal had their fights. Fabrizio Donoso's on 17 lap old tyres. Jake Benham's done really well to just stay out of all of that and has found his way into the top 10 after both Mercedes being eliminated in Q2. Good to see them fighting their way in the points, but Jarno really this isn't the best race from him thus far, and I think he needed to be in at that top 10 because overtaking around this circuit can be very difficult because of how prevalent the DRS train is. But for the most part, Nathan, in the last few laps, that's not been a problem.
No, it's not. We can see Jake Santos goes in on the back of Jarno as they head through towards turn 6, and surely I think there'll be a bit of a team order over at Mercedes to say, Jake, you're quicker, Jarno, let him through, because I think Jake has got a lot more to connect tracks out of those tyres than Jarno at this point in this race. You can see Jarno's dropping back 6-7 tenths from Jack West. Jack West is also starting to slowly move away from Nicholas Longe, who's on those 10-lap old tyres. He's probably on the best tyres, I think, out of that whole top 6. But he's got that penalty which will definitely hamper him at the end and probably could lose him another 3 or 4 positions. So you've got the likes of Jack, Jarno, Jake, and Robito, who were within 3 seconds of Nico but haven't got a penalty. So this could go from still a very good race for Nico to a very bad race in terms of result at the end. But Jay, you can see, just pushing his teammate through out of the final corner down towards turn number 1. There you go, and this is that gap 9 tenths of a second. So Jarno very slightly holding on to that DRS of the top 10. We can see back at the front now we've got over a Caraton also looking to close in on the back of Thomas Ronhaar in towards that first corner, along with Nicholas Longe is also looking to move ahead of Alvaro. And the great thing about this long straight into turn 1 is there's that much overspeed, anyone can make a move.
Yeah, absolutely, as they continue along on towards lap number 33 of 36. We're getting into the twilight phase of this race where the tyres really are beginning to fall off the cliff. I'd say Alvaro Caraton probably is going to be the quickest driver on this grid at the moment, just due to the fact that those hards have such great longevity. They're still going to have a decent bit of grip left in them at this point, although Nicholas Longe is going to have some good tyres at the moment, as is Kai Pearson, but the pair of them have penalties to their name, so it seems like really it's mostly a level playing field, aside from Jack West and Jarno Opmeer being at a pretty big disadvantage in terms of their tyre life on their mediums, and Thomas Ronhaar, his softs are up there in age, so we'll see what happens for the remainder of this Grand Prix as Shannon Kinchie fighting it out with Philip Presnader. Something's happened with Philip there. I think he's given up or whatever. I'm not too sure. He's going very slowly, and he's pulling. Oh dear, Philip Presnader just knocks off his front wing for seemingly no reason. Don't know what's happened with Philip there. He's now going to come into the pit lane, I'd imagine, to retire from this Grand Prix. Is he going to keep racing? No, he'll peel off into the pits. Very interesting from Philip there, as Alvaro Caraton is through on Thomas Ronhaar. You got to feel for Philip Presnader in this race. I think the frustration just got the better of him.
Yeah, definitely the frustration just wasn't ideal at all for Philippe. He had such a good starting qualifying, but then after that he just went downhill and downhill and downhill as Jake Bedham makes a move ahead of his teammate Jarno Opmeer. Kai Pearson also looking for a move ahead of Jarno. You can see the two Mercedes defending well in towards turn 4 to not let Kai through on Jarno. Kai's going to have better tyres, he's got better grip than Jarno. He's going to go the inside in towards turn 6. Can he get a move ahead of a Flying Dutchman? They go side by side still, and who will be ahead coming out of the corner? I think Jarno still got an inside line in towards turn 7, and I think Kai just inched himself ahead. Kai Pearson has got the move ahead of Jarno Opmeer. He would have loved to overtake one of the quickest drivers on the F1 game. So they look to try and close in to Jake Benham, who's also looking to get himself back within a second of Jack West. The battle fourth then is still going to be very interesting to me. Anyone could be getting involved with this. Jake Benham would love to get involved in this battle for the top 4 in this race, considering where he started and where he dropped to after the first few laps. He's doing a tremendous job to be fighting for a top 4.
2 laps to go at this point. I saw a lot of people saying, why was there no safety car called out for that? It's because it's so late in the race. We actually can't restart or finish the race, under safety car. So that is why no safety car has been called, as we got to surely turn our attention to the leading 3. Luke Smith, Otis Lawrence, 15 lap old tyres. Shanika Clay, 14 laps. Could Shanika snatch the victory on the final lap of this Grand Prix? We'll have to wait and see. He's going to have to go through 2 drivers at the moment, but all of these guys have leeway at the minute to defend their position. There's no one really who's going to be able to contest them further back behind, because they're all doing their own fights. Look at Nicholas Longe up the inside of Thomas Ronhaar in towards Horkila. These guys have been rubbing all Grand Prix thus far, and it seems like Nicholas Longe is going to get the better this time by, but certainly Luke Smith and Otis Lawrence going to be feeling pressure from Shanika.
Yeah, and you can see Ron Harshaw's now, coming to their later stages, not really performing too well on those 13 lap olds. So you've got Jack West just behind, also looking to try and find to move past Ron Hard down towards turn 12. But Shanaka has only scored 3 points so far this season. He's on course for his first podium, I think, even out of last season. I don't think he scored one podium in season 15 either. So this is a brilliant result either way for Shanaka, as long as they both all three keep it clean on this final lap. Down towards turn one there, we can see the final opportunities to make moves in towards this first corner. Otis Lawrence getting into the back of Luke Smith. Can he try and make a move in towards turn one? Shanaka is going to be following behind, but Otis has got so much more speed. He's got so much battery to use to his advantage. To the inside line goes Otis Lawrence. Can he make a move for the lead? Yes, he can. He goes to the inside. Luke tries to hold him back all the way around this one. They make contact. Luke's right.
Oh!
Luke Smith is right. Oh dear me. Luke Smith has spun around, and Shanaka going to be closing into Otis Lawrence. Oh, what a shame for Luke.
Oh, so sad for Luke Smith there. Now Otis Lawrence leading this race. Don't know what happened whatsoever. Nicholas Longue, his penalty's removable and has found his way now onto the podium. Luke Smith has gone disastrously for him at this point, as now they file into the second sector for the final time in this race. Was there contact between Luke Smith and Otis Lawrence? I'm not too sure what actually happened there. The camera angle was not the best, so do apologise for that one there. But Otis Lawrence, he was quick in Q1 and Q2, wasn't able to take pole position. He will come into the stadium sector for the final time, where he's greeted by cheers from the Mexican fans and confetti spraying all over the circuit. Through the final corner comes Otis Lawrence off the exit for the final time. He will take victory here in Mexico. It's 2 in a row for him in WOR. Shanaka Clay in second. Nicholas Longue is in third. With the penalty applied, Alvaro Carreton finishes in third position. Fourth is Luke Smith. Sixth, Jack West. Seventh, Benham. Eighth is Jarno Ottmere. Thomas Ronhar all the way down in ninth. Then Kai Pearson rounding out the top 10 there. High drama at the end of this race, but it is Otis Lawrence taking the win here.
Yeah, back-to-back victories for Otis Lawrence. Yes, again, he's probably one of the quick throws on the game. He's only 15. He's one of the youngest as well. Just absolutely brilliant performance from him here today. Down at turn one with him and Luke Smith. Don't know what happened really. There was a bit of contact. I can't really put any decision on who think's at fault, so we'll let the stewards decide that. So everyone in the chat, you're not stewards. Let the stewards decide who's at fault there. And we can obviously see as well, second place for Shanaka Clay. Well deserved. He's been, fighting for a podium for so long. He's not really had the best qualifying results. So we'll take a P2 here today ahead of, I think Nicholas Longue should get that third position back. Being as what happened down. I think we see Jarno Ottmere that push off. Got a warning for that, but if he does get removed, Alvaro Carreton on the podium, which would be brilliant.
Yeah, Alvaro Carreton also did struggle last season to really get off the mark, and in previous seasons, he was challenging for the title, but that just wasn't a thing last season for him. So it's good to see Alvaro Carreton back on the podium. You can see Otis Lawrence celebrating atop the podium for the second race running. He's 2 for 2 in this season, yet to lose a race. Brilliant stuff from Otis Lawrence. Luke Smith definitely going to be feeling very hard done by what's happened there after such a strong showing from him. We'll have a look at the results, as it is Otis Lawrence taking the victory ahead of Shanaka Clay. Third is Alvaro Carreton. Fourth, Luke Smith. Fifth, Jack West. Nicholas Longue sixth after that penalty. That should be removed, apparently. If it does, he'll be on the podium, of course. Jake Benham in seventh. Eighth is Jarno Ottmere. Ninth for Thomas Ronhar. Around the top 10 is Kai Pearson. And then Daniel Shelson in 11th. 12th is Chanakinchi. 13th Fabrizio Donoso. Tamas Gal 14th. 15th is Duncan Offland. And then Ben Shabakoni is the last of the... No, he's not the last of the finishers. He is in 16th. Then 17th, Reese Linton after starting on pole. Philip Presneder retiring in the pits a few laps from the finish. And we hardly got to see any of Will Lewis or Istefan Pukki. We will see Welcome back, everyone, in the intermission room after what was a very intense Mexican Grand Prix, ending in calamity for both Otis Lawrence and Luke Smith. Luke Smith, of course, being sent around at the first corner, and very unfortunate that he's not been able to finish on the podium this evening. We're not going to get to hear from him either in terms of any interviews. Very disappointing day for Otis Lawrence, for Luke Smith. But yeah, jubilation for Otis, taking his second win in 2 races.
Yeah, and I think that'll pop him up into third in the championship, even with Nico on the podium. So brilliant for Otis now to consider himself a championship rival. And we said that last season. He went from being, I think, 20 points back to end up finishing nearly 100 points back. So it didn't go quite as planned last season. But I think this season he can definitely easily be on for a podium, a championship fight if he can turn up to every single race, because we just know whenever he's there, any opportunities arose, he'll take it, and he'll always be one of those to finish in the top 5, top 3, and well, this season so far, both times finish on the top step of the podium. Obviously, pending results with what happens with him and Luke Smith, but I don't think too much will be said about that because it was just a bit of contact, final lap of the race. They both fought for it, and sometimes one of those drives will come out with a bit of a consequence, which is unfortunate, but that's racing, and it's something I've had to endeavour many times in my league racing past, which I'm glad I don't do anymore, because with the way this game has been with driving stands on a whole, not now, but on a whole, I think I would have probably broken a few motors and a few wheels.
Well, it was a very hot-headed race for a lot of drivers, and there was elbows out all over the shop. Of course, we saw very early retirements from both Esteban Pookie and Will Lewis. I'd imagine there was lap 1 contact or something through there, but they were both very different, in very different places on the grid, so I'm not too sure what happened with the pair of them. Lots of damage throughout the entirety of it, and of course it all culminated in that final lap with Luke Smith coming around. Preemptively, I'm going to bring us over to the interview room, see if we've got anyone who we can talk to at the minute. We do have our race winner, Otis Lawrence. We will drag him in now. Otis, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So, starting off with qualifying quickest in Q1 and Q2, what went wrong in Q3?
I didn't get the lap together in the final run. I just didn't. I didn't nail the RNG in the first sector, and I just didn't get the drift right in the last sector either. So, middle sector was good, but we just didn't get the lap together in that qualifying session. But still, P3 was good. The race obviously went a lot better. So I am happy with the result.
Well, and coming in to this race, of course, starting on the second row of the grid, you were able to overtake everyone in towards that first corner, and you were leading all of the hard runners. What was your strategy in trying to catch Fabrizio Donoso, who'd broken away on the softs?
I think when I saw him about 6 tenths ahead on the first lap, I kind of just let him go because I knew he was going to break it anyway. And I know how fast the softs drop on this game, so I knew we just had to be patient in that race. Just let him do his thing, because I knew eventually I would catch him up. It was quite hard. I was pushing quite hard on the first stint. Second stint, last few laps, I was just lifting, coasting, just trying to preserve some fuel, because I think I was about to run out of fuel if I didn't lift and coast. So just had to lift and coast a lot, and it was a lot of strategic play in the last lap as well. Last few laps, I was just trying to stay behind Luke about 6 tenths, just to give him a bit of confidence, just to make sure he doesn't play any DRS games for the last lap, and then obviously try to make any overtake on the turn 1. I think he might have clipped my rear left. I don't really think it was my fault. I think it was just a bit unlucky. The game's contact model, but GG's to him, GG's to the podium sitters, and I'm happy for the race win.
Yeah, and of course now you are 2-2 for all of your races so far this season. How confident are you heading in to the next round of Belgium?
I'm very confident, to be honest. I'm enjoying the game. I'm enjoying it quite a lot, putting the practice and putting the effort in. I'm just going to go full guns blazing for the next one.
Well, really well done. That's all from me. Nathan, anything you want to say to our race winner?
Well, I've been asked by Otis twice. I have a question for him, but I literally can't think of a question. So, Otis, I haven't got a question for you. I was going to ask you about Belgium, but then Dan said it, so I thought, oh, great, that's my question done.
Right.
Anyway, well done with the race, but nice to see you back on the top step of the podium.
Thank you, guys. I hope you both enjoyed it.
Thank you to Otis Lawrence joining us in the commentary box. Unfortunately, we've not got anyone else to talk to at the minute. We'll give it a few more moments and maybe talk about Belgium. Next race, of course, Nathan. Taking a break week, so we're off until the 21st.
Yeah.
Should be a very fun one.
Yeah, I think Spa's a brilliant track, isn't it? It's one of the most iconic there is in the scene. Everyone loves, Spa and, the Belgium side of motorsport in general. So I think it's a brilliant place for us to take to battle. I think as well it produces great racing, especially down that Kemmel straight towards Lake. And also some of that middle set, you can also see some brilliant moves being made. So I think it's going to be a brilliant race. I think this season, generally, the calendar's really, really nice. I think it's one of the most favourite ones I've had so far since around season 12, season 13.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Belgium can be a lot of fun and can produce some very good races. For some reason, though, whenever Belgium comes around on the calendar, I always get ill or something, or I just can't commentate on it. I feel like I never commentate on Belgium, so fingers crossed I'm all okay for that race. Of course, on the 21st, taking next week off should give plenty of time for these drivers to practice. I'll drag us back over to the interview room just to have a little look, see if anyone has joined, and that is not the case. So I believe I will bring us back over mission scene and finish off for the day. Thank you everyone very much for tuning in. If you want to follow us on social media, it is at WOR League on Twitter. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and also like the stream. Be greatly appreciated. And if you want to keep up to date with all your WOR news, you can check the Discord. The link is in the description.
Oh, we have Shanaka.
We have Shanaka. Oh, okay.
Should we drag him in?
Yeah, drag him in now. I'll bring us back over. And wow, okay, I was just doing the outro, then Shanaka Clay joins the interview room. Nathan, I'll let you talk to Shanaka here.
Shanaka, hello, can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hello, so P2, brilliant result. Obviously, it hasn't been the best for you so far this season, obviously only scoring 3 points, so I think a podium is well deserved. Going into qualifying, did you expect to get yourself so high up in quali?
I was hoping for a Q3, but to be honest, the pace heading in was very, very inconsistent. I think the raw lap time was there, but it's very difficult to extract around Mexico. So I was kind of content with top 5. I bottled the last lap a little bit, which would have put me in contention for pole, but it was a good place to start anyway.
And obviously going into the races where you made some key moves on the first lap, I think you got yourself up to P3 or P2 in that first lap. Do you think that is one of the key moments that got you in a place to try and at least fight for the winning at the end?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can never win the race on the first lap, but you can definitely lose it. So to try and get yourself in a good position going forward is always critical. And fortunately, this time we managed to do that.
Yeah, indeed. And I think it was a great end in battle. Did you see what happened between Luke and Otis by any chance?
Yeah, I had a good view. I was expecting it to get spicy. I had a bit of a bad exit off the last corner, which was a bit gutting. But yeah, I was trying to set myself up for a good run onto the second straight whilst those guys were battling. But yeah, it got a bit spicier than I was expecting, and they had a little bit of contact, I think, like rear wheel to rear wheel, and yeah, I just had nowhere to go. And Luke collected me, and I had orange wing for the rest of the lap. So I was very, very worried that I was going to lose that P2, but fortunately the line came in the nick of time.
Indeed, well, that's all from me. Well done on that podium, of course. And Dan, anything from you for Shanaka?
No questions from me, Shanaka, but really well done once again this evening. It's been a while, I think, since we actually got to talk to you in the interview room. Hopefully, this is the first of many more to come, but for now, go off and enjoy that one.
Thank you, guys. And
that, I believe, concludes our interview section. So I will, for the last time, unless Alvaro Carreton wants to join the interview room now, you know what? I'll give him 5 seconds. If he doesn't do it, I'm going to end the stream. And if he joins, tough luck. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you everyone once again so much for tuning in to this stream. We're going to do the whole spiel again, by the way. Please, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to the WOR YouTube channel. The growth has been immense and we want to keep it going in towards 2024. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it is at WOR League. And if you want to keep up to date with all your world online racing news, you can join the Discord. The link is in the description. If you want to follow myself on Twitter, it is at DanfieldF1_. similar score. I'm very close to 1,300 followers. Maybe you could be that number 1,300 or whatever. And if you want to follow Nathan, it is at Richie F1 with the I's replaced by ones. But thank you everyone once again for the final time for tuning in to this Grand Prix. See you again in 2 weeks for the Belgian Grand Prix. Thank you and good night.
Good night.